Oh, I'm gonna keep screaming until someone answers me. Cannot hear a thing. There's nothing. There's only blackness. Oh, you know what? My fucking shit's probably fucked up. Let me look at my settings. Settings. Deeper headset. Go there. Go there. Hello. Can you hear me, Coughlin? Because I can't hear you. This is a thrilling show. I heard something. Kalen's! Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not just stuck in a silent void.
Okay. It's like Coughlin is trapped in some sort of weird abyss, or he's like a black and white movie, or was it an old silent movie?
So like,
Coughlin is trapped in
there, like.
What's up, Matt? Matt. I think Matt's dead. Matt!
Down the door.
Wow, the total fuck-ups. Am I right, everybody?
What?
The total fuck-ups, am I right? It's like Coughlin's trapped in a silent movie.
Oh, I want to know. Like I don't have any of the videos on because my internet is that fucking shit.
This is fucking sad. Anyway, sorry I'm on this account. Like, this is my fucking gaming account, but like, for some reason I'm not able to log in my regular account, and I don't quite know why. So here you go, Matt.
Wait, Coughlin. For me, it's well. There you go. Excellent.
I can hear you.
Right.
I can
do you know
hear
what's annoying? Do you know what's annoying? Do you know what I did to make the mic come on? I just unplugged my camera and put it back in again. There was nothing. There was no reason. Do you know what the thing is? This channel is designed to not let me ever speak a full sentence without being interrupted, stopped, or have something impede my. You know, if Matt starts interrupting me when I wasn't even being heard, I wasn't even being heard. No one can. I'm talking to nobody. People are sat there. There was 2 people out there who are, let's face it, the majority of the total D-bag followers. Right? That's it.
Unfortunately.
And they quite frankly are too many. That's 3 too many people we've got already. Quite frankly.
Like the hangout, like they fucked it up recently because now it always sets you to the default thing.
Yeah, but I was on the default
thing.
That's what I'm on now. I was on the right thing by default. I'm right automatically, like everything else I've ever said been in life. I was automatically right purely by being here.
Well, if it's a thing, you plug in. It like you have to
the
plug
thing I
it
plugged in. Thanks for that, Matt. Thank you, Alan Turing. Now, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to the Total D-Bags, a channel started by me to talk about wrestling, but it's actually me trying to stave off a nervous breakdown because Matt insists on voicing his opinion. And, you know, this is what we're going to... I want you to hear me now to be able to tell I am coherent, I can think, because by the end of this, Matt will, of course, have driven me to the point of absolute mass murder and genocide.
Hey, Colin, can I get your thoughts on something?
That is his power.
No, it's fine.
Okay,
Hey?
you know otherkins, right? You know what an otherkin is, right?
Coughlin is slightly more normal than us. Coughlin's slightly more normal than us, and therefore doesn't know what otherkin are.
No, probably not, Matt. I don't know what an otherkin is. No, I'm probably.
So
otherkin are people. Otherkin are people who believe that like they are like a dragon or a fox.
Is this how we're starting the wrestling hangout? Is you asking me a question about something that has got nothing? It's probably some sexual deviant thing you found up accidentally whilst trying to Google retarded dragon porn and whether that would be legal under the Constitution.
This is important.
No,
So,
it's not, man.
Like,
It's
that's
not
other
important.
kin.
Has it got
So
anything
here's
to
my
do with
question.
wrestling? Before you carry on talking, if this has got nothing to do with wrestling, I'm blocking you and I'm officially firing you from the internet forever.
It probably has something tangentially to do with wrestling because the Greeks invented wrestling.
No, but the Greek, no, Matt, that's like saying because it's got letters in it and wrestling is made up of letters as a word, this has got something to do with wrestling. The Greeks also invented, the concept of, man-on-man bum sex purely for having a laugh and out of boredom, right? We're not going to go down that road either, right? Did the Greeks invent the concept of pyro? Did the Greeks invent the idea of the Montreal Screwjob, or the triple high cage match, Hell in a Cell, or the Vince McMahon's daughter being kidnapped by the Ministry of Darkness and undergoing some black magic?
They totally they totally invented the idea.
Just let him go with his question. Like, it won't
Go
be
on,
that
Matt,
long anyway.
ask me a question. I swear to Christ, this better be good.
So otherkin basically is like, you're a non-human trapped in a human body. So
yes.
What if I was what if my otherkin persona was like, I'm Zeus, king of the Olympian gods?
I think you're a non-human trapped in a non-human's body, Matt. Matt, you are a non-human trapped in a non-human's body, and you're trapped in my head and my life, and I can't get you out of it. You're like, you're like those. You're somebody who, if I lend you a fiver, you think I've adopted you, and you never get rid of you. You're like herpes.
This motherfucker Kalins is like, Zeus is a human, it's like, no, Zeus is not a human,
Well, he takes a human.
Okay, hold on. Zeus has got arms and legs and a bottom, right? That sounds pretty human to me. I've seen all the pictures.
Yeah, but he's fucked women as a swan and a beam of light.
I have seen the Undertaker stand on top of the Titantron and fire lightning out of his fingers at a sound engineer who caught on fire, right? And I've seen that happen in real time, live on TV. Now, don't sit there and tell me that Zeus, if he wanted to, could not be human, because I'm sure he could if he wanted. Why else would he get Arnold Schwarzenegger to play his son? Because that makes the most sense. That's why he invented Arnold Schwarzenegger, probably, so he could portray his son. And let's face it, Arnold Schwarzenegger is part human, at least in terms of language. Now, can we stop talking about this? No, Matt, shut up, never talk ever again. Right? In fact, I'm muting your mic for the next 45 minutes as a wellness violation, or in wellness being my wellness, my mental stability. I should not care this much. I should not have this much stress from a wrestling conversation. But you manage to make it. You make the one thing that should be completely enjoyable, absolutely mind-numbingly fucking difficult to get through without wanting to kill everyone.
Look, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
I just want people to accept me for the fact that I am
Shut up! Matt, shut up. We are now 20 minutes into this. And we might as well have been talking about... We might as well have rolled up a copy of The Dandy and brushed our teeth with for the last 20 minutes. Because that's the amount of fucking... Let's talk about wrestling. And thus... Right, first of all, it's good to start talking about from everything. Let's take the Royal Rumble was shit as read. Let's take it was badly booked.
By the way, it's only been like 10 minutes.
No, let's say, Matt, it will be longer every time you start talking, right? Because I will sit here and rant for an hour every time you interrupt me. Right, so let's all agree that it's nothing against Roman Reigns. It's not his fault. He's got the charisma of a garden gnome, and that he really needs to shake off the whole Shield look thing, and that he was booked badly, and that WWE should have done something like give him a storyline or some kind of character, and not written promos that a 4-year-old would have come up with. Let's take that as read.
I agree. I agree.
Roman Reigns was gonna. That's the thing. If you didn't think Roman Reigns was going to win the Rumble going in, you were stupid.
Matt,
as soon as Roman was I'm throwing my name.
Matt, everyone says that after the fact. It's always, you see people after something's happened in wrestling, they go, well, it's bloody obvious he was going to win. It's not about that. Wrestling's about there being a slight bit of doubt that maybe, just maybe, anything else could happen.
Problem.
Because occasionally something does happen, doesn't it? It does.
And that's not a problem with Roman. That's a problem with the rest of the fucking roster
Well,
and
hold
how
on.
the
I
rest of
think
the
it is.
roster
I
is
think it
booked.
is. I think it is a problem with Roman because I think Roman, whether I don't blame him for taking the opportunity he's been given, but you can't sit here and blame anyone else for the fact that he has all of the charm and charisma of a Russian contraflow system in winter covered in shit. It's
In defense of Roman, like I don't. He has shitty mic skills. Clearly, I mean he
yes.
has the look. He has, I think, a pretty decent moveset.
Well,
He just
Brian has
has
shitty mic
incredibly
skills
shit
too.
mic
That
skills.
doesn't stop
Yeah,
him.
the thing about Brian though, I think, is that he's found a way
Also,
to make
so
himself marketable.
Also, Brian doesn't have shitty mic skills. He just has a style on the mic that appeals to people in a certain way, and it appeals to people because they believe what he's saying. It doesn't matter whether the one thing about Brian that you cannot deny is that you believe him when he's. I've never seen a wrestling promo that genuinely nearly got me a little bit watery-eyed when he came back and and they were playing it like he was going to announce he was going to quit. Right, I genuinely felt like I felt emotion through a wrestling promo, which is so rare these days for WWE to consider that as you feel something when you watch. And that's the thing about Brian. People like him because he comes across as being
genuine.
Genuine.
Very
Yes.
genuine.
It's the same reason people who like Cena like Cena. The reason people like it is because he comes across. He doesn't come across as a guy who's just playing a character.
Yeah,
he comes across as a bloke who is that nice, annoyingly.
And that's what people underestimate about the thing about Roman Reigns, and people may disagree with me. I think Roman Reigns, like Randy Orton, if he isn't allowed to sort of be himself, he comes across as stale and uninteresting.
Let's accept the fact. I mean, ironically, we know. Let's say if he wasn't related to the only Samoan family that ever decided to wrestle ever, and which I reckon the Isle of Samoa is two and a wrestling ring.
Did you see Samoa Joe is actually related to that family?
Yeah, but I did. I found that out, and so I was like, right, there's got to be one.
I might start related by marriage, though.
Train a random Samoan who we can prove is genetically not connected. So, and let's face it, it's impressive when you think one of those Samoans from that family was Japanese. That being Yokozuna.
Yokozuna.
Yeah. I mean, he took the whole Samoan. He took the whole
Samoan Roman Reigns.
Yeah. Remember, Roman Reigns is related to The Rock, and The Rock was hated as well. Remember, everyone hated The Rock when he started.
Yeah, they did.
And he looked like a villain.
It's not that they're. It's like Roman Reigns doesn't have charisma and nobody likes it. It's the fact that they're like giving him the shit that like even John Cena wouldn't say. Like John Cena would never say something.
How many things has? You say that, but I reckon The Rock could have done that crappy big Jack and the Beanstalk promo, but he would have done it in a way that made it. He would have gone. The Rock's going to go.
He would have been all like,
The Rock's going to talk to you about his giant beanstalk and how he slays that giant beanstalk.
I don't think Rocky Maivia, his first incarnation that everyone hated, would have been able to do that. I think he would have pretty much did the same thing. I think, like The Rock, Roman has to develop himself and develop that personality.
And also, let's not forget that there are people with speech impediments, hair lips, and severe multiple sclerosis who Brock Lesnar could not match when it comes to speaking on the mic, and yet he doesn't need to. You still believe him because Brock Lesnar just needs to stand there and look like Brock Lesnar.
I love the way Bork Laser talks. He's like, I'm going to kill you.
It's like remember when Mike Tyson first spoke and everyone laughed?
Yeah.
He's got a neck the size of my waist, and yet he's got that stupid little voice. Same with David Beckham. You see, David Beckham, he's good-looking, talented, and he's got that stupid, squeaky little voice. And you just kind of laughing because when you look like Brock Lesnar, you believe he could kill anyone, several times over and then fuck the corpses.
He also has that weird, like, Aryan look, like Aryan Superman look going on with his, like, stupid
to quote JBL, and when he, as he said backstage to Roddy Piper at one of the shows at Raw, that's what Hitler wanted, whilst pointing at Brock Lesnar.
Exactly.
I'm gonna say this: like, if the movie like The Rock's in, like the Captain Marvel movie, Shazam movie does well, and and they bring in like Captain Nazi, who's also one of Shazam's villains. Brock Lesnar should play Captain Nazi.
I also
And,
should
like, picture, like,
I want to make a shout out this week based on what we've seen in the last two Rumbles. I'm betting Rusev to win next year's, but for him to be like, for everyone to not want him to.
By the way, I totally was saying though that like they were eventually going to throw Rusev to John Cena.
Yes, but here's the thing: the fact that they've given him a Fastlane match before WrestleMania suggests to me he's going to beat John Cena first, at least, and then John Cena can
Also,
bury him.
real quickly,
They can waste that opportunity to put someone else over, which is not John Cena's fault.
Am I the only one? Am I the only one who thinks Fastlane sounds like a TNA pay-per-view title? Like TNA Fastlane?
That because WWE had Over the Limit, but TNA based on their roster should have had Under the Influence with Jeff Hardy and Kurt Angle
why they just
on
didn't
drugs
bring back
and
like
pissed.
Valentine.
I think they should have had.
I don't get why they just
Kurt
didn't bring back.
Kurt Angle versus Jeff Hardy in a match where it's called a first man standing match, where you're given a huge amount of drugs and alcohol to the point where you cannot get up, and the first man to stand up for 10 seconds unassisted wins.
Why
that
not?
would have been.
Here's my question: does projectile vomiting count as a DQ?
No, you can do anything. There's no need to hit the other guy, obviously, because they won't. They'll miss everything, because like most drunk people do.
Why didn't the WWE just bring back like Valentine's Day Massacre or whatever?
I wish they'd have just sold it with Kurt Angle. Like he's gone from having the 3 eyes in WWE to the 6 DUIs in TNA. That would have been much. And they give him the entrance like the Alberto Del Rio entrance. Instead, he crashes the car into the ring, and there's like an old woman on the bonnet, and he gets out, and he's only got his shirt and no underpants on, and he's covered in sick. Just have him as Kurt Angle, the drunk driver. The pissed up motorist.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious. Like this does involve wrestling. It's like
right,
so.
Okay, that's a good start, Matt.
I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I watched the Puppy Bowl this year because the Puppy Bowl is awesome.
Funny how Americans think that is a sport.
Now, real quickly, if you don't know what the Puppy Bowl is, like the Animal Planet every year runs like this special during the Super Bowl where it's literally just a bunch of puppies running around in like a football-shaped like enclosure, and it's just like look at them, like look at how cute they are.
It has something.
The Super Bowl is a fucking music festival. Yeah, the Super Bowl is a fucking music festival with some small mini movies called commercials based around this loose connection with the idea that someone might play a sporting event at some point, which is nothing more than a bunch of oversized genetic mutations on steroids headbutting each other dressed as RoboCop. That's all it is, and it's overly complicated, unnecessarily stupid, and makes no sense to anyone who's ever played a real sport.
As you can tell, Kaufman is a massive fan of American sports.
It's a 1 hour sport that goes on for 3 days. At least with cricket, they're playing cricket for 3 days, and by the end of it, someone's actually going to have won or even drawn.
Hey, we have hot cheerleaders. Fuck you.
So what? I can, as if that matters. I'm not going to masturbate whilst watching American football. I might see the wrong thing when you have that regretful moment.
Caleb, you literally like, hey, we have like hot women like during our like sporting events to a guy whose country literally is like, hey, you can show pornography on television.
Take the pads off the players and let them play for more than 2 seconds at a time before you bring on the next bunch of
real quickly.
Genetically modified descendants of slave mares, and so like go on there.
Wow,
bunch of wife beaters or whatever.
It's like fucking Beach Plus up in this bitch now. What the fuck?
That's a Chris Rock thing. He does the thing about because he does the whole thing about because they used to breed slaves to get larger slaves. That's why you end up with the NFL and the National Basketball Association.
That's brilliant. I like that.
So that's what it is. It's just a fallback from that. And he said the only reason they haven't got a good hockey team is because they can't get a heated ice rink.
During the Puppy Bowl, because it was on the Animal Planet, which is part of the Discovery Channel network.
That's racist, see? That's racist.
Like, they showed they showed they showed promos for TNA on fucking Discovery America,
That's a
and
waste
it's
of
just
time.
like I sat there watching the commercial, being like, you know what, this is probably the most viewed commercial TNA has ever
You
fucking
shouldn't show a promo for
advertised.
TNA. You should show a promo. You should show a promo for something people will actually watch, and then it's broadcast TNA, and then as opposed to what you've got now, which is what is that noise?
Well, you owe us a
Yeah, which is what because WWE celebrates Black History Month with 40 years of one-dimensional stereotypical characters based on offensive, derogatory fucking cliches that should have died out ages ago. From the dancing black man in Teddy Long to the militant black man in Teddy Long, and everything in between that you get with those things.
I like how
not a single black guy was on the fucking Black History
and
Month
every
thing.
black guy's got to have a single letter in his name. So,
well, we can't really spell very well, so
let's be honest. He basically showed us what his view of black people is by having R-Truth sit in for Devon. Devon Dudley, who I imagine can't cost more than $25 to book for an evening. I could probably get Devon just to stand in a video if he can't be that expensive. And instead they just get Bubba Ray, because he's the one you can't really sort of get another stand-in for. And Vince goes, we've got R-Truth. He's black. They're practically the same person. God damn it! I can't tell.
One's just a little slimmer than the other. And I guess
imagine they brought Devon back and someone played Bubba's character. Like they brought Devon back and Miz played Bubba's character. How fucking stupid!
Real quickly, it
I'd feel insulted if I were Miz because I'd be expected to play Bubba Ray.
I'll be sitting going, R-Truth, you realise you're a substitute for Devon Dudley, R-Truth. That's how bad things have gone for you. You're now filling in for Devon.
Which is a shame because R-Truth was actually pretty good. I will say one thing though about MVP. MVP was actually not. I don't think he actually fell into that stereotype. He's one of the few black wrestlers that were able to develop. He still had that sort of thing
with the bling and the hip hop sort of thing, and his name Montel Vontavious Porter.
I'll defend two things. On one point, I don't necessarily think involving hip hop in an angle necessarily necessitates stereotype, but the Montavious thing does. Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, I mean, and also like I said, every black wrestler's got to have a single letter for a name. He had 3 MVP.
Or an MVP. Yeah.
Because
of the basketball connections and shit, yeah.
He wants a black guy in a bow tie and a pork pie hat who is a Nation of Islam caricature who's called A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. That's their name.
Didn't the Good Father become that when he was a part of censorship or whatever that censorship group was?
The Right to Censor. Yeah. They were great. I liked them. I thought they were really underrated as a stable.
They were really good stable, and they were effective for the time period that they were in.
Stephen Richards was good in it. I mean, it's like, wow. It gave Val Venus something else to do, and
And they gave Good Father it actually made Good Father and Val Venus relevant again.
The thing about Godfather is he's always going to have to live with the fact that if he hadn't had a group of hot women with him, everyone would have booed him anyway because he was crap, really. The only everyone booed when he used to come out without the girls, and he'd go, "Oh yeah, bring the women out," and then he just would. That would be it. I mean, and even that, how fucking sort of technically, how stereotypical is that? Let's get a black guy, call him Godfather, give him a ridiculous hat, a cane, and pretend he's a pimp who,
And make him just go out there and go like the hoe trade. I remember his move was basically.
Even when they try something that's slightly different with the New Day, it's still basically the preacher, the black preacher sort of character, who's that isn't even good. It's a shit one. You want the angry one. You want the Louis Farrakhan kind of preacher.
Pretty much, not
the happy-go-lucky. That's what you want, because at least.
I think the issue black wrestlers face is that they're considered black wrestlers first and they're considered black wrestlers first and wrestlers second.
I mean, people always go on about The Rock, but I mean, The Rock was white, one of those black guys who's white enough. You know what I mean? It's like he looks tanned, really. Let's be honest. And he doesn't look, and he was never, apart from when he was in the Nation, but he was never really part of the nation in the sense that he joined afterwards. He didn't have that. He didn't have the sort of outfit that matched all the others. He sort of just had his underpants on, and he then sort of became Rocky, and then he was good, which I think they might have to try with Roman Reigns. Just give him something to do is all you want with Roman Reigns. He's never done anything. That's the problem with him. Since he went single, he's had one match with Randy Orton. That's it. He's done nothing else. He was out for 2 months, won Superstar of the Year via the means of dodgy fucking voting system that the WWE implemented on the app by combining Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan's votes, and then claiming Roman Reigns had won.
Yeah.
Even though everyone was sat there going, nah. So even Roman Reigns' family was sat there going, sorry, this is this is ridiculous, right? You win Superstar of the Year for what? I mean, for nothing really. And Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins have had storylines. Even Ryback had a storyline going into it. Even Eric Rowan had a storyline going into it. Reigns has got nothing.
I gotta say, Booker T, in my opinion, is what I would consider somebody who was able to do it, because he's
unique though. He's got a very unique personality. He's quite likable, and he's shit at what he does, but in a way that's quite enjoyable. He
was, and he of course had the whole hip hop thing or whatever, some parts of that, but it was entertaining.
And he's got a single letter, Booker T. He had to. Yeah, but I liked it. But even when he did something terrible, like he did the King Booker thing with the English accent, it was so bad you couldn't. It was so bad you couldn't. I mean, that was wrestling for me. That's what makes wrestling. It's like only in wrestling could that have worked.
And all of his servants were like these European white dudes.
But the feud that a lot of people feel that sort of killed him or ended any sort of push he was going to have did also have sort of a racial aspect to it, which was the Triple H one at WrestleMania, where Triple H just basically came out and said, "You're not going to, you couldn't beat someone like you couldn't beat me. I'm much better than you." And then that was it. And then that's what they did for several weeks. Then he went to WrestleMania and beat him in a really sort of in a way that made him look bad, like he took a pedigree. And then 45 minutes later, Triple H covered him, and he was still out from the pedigree. And it just kind of felt like you've wasted a match there. At least.
All right, I'll talk about what happened with Iron Beach later, everybody. People were asking me that shit.
This is a wrestling channel, folks. We talk about real important things in drama, most of which, by the way, is scripted. None of us actually. We all sit here. We have meetings in the back, and we write storylines for the internet. YouTube is just one big art project. Set up
that would actually be an interesting project, actually.
Yeah. I thought it would be funny if it turned out YouTube was set up by 5,000 independent artists who were paid to pretend to have arguments online, and they could see if it caught on. And it's one long, never-ending, improvised sort of interactive art piece that doesn't have that has no point to it. And
that would actually be an interesting experiment.
But it does prove one thing, that you don't have to be good at anything in order to actually be successful. Which is YouTube's most important lesson, is democratize. There's no meritocracy here. If there was, I would have 1 billion subscribers, and I would be the only person on here. Let's
Matt, you there?
Yeah. Matt would have Matt would have negative subscribers if the internet was fair. He'd have to actually watch extra videos and subscribe to channels as a punishment for.
Matt, you there?
Why are you encouraging him to talk? Okay, we just managed to. We just had a good interaction there. Yeah, but we just had a good interaction. I know that he's your. I know that you feel you need to patronise him with some kind of reverse affirmative action.
He's my fucking buddy. Fuck you. I love that. He's my buddy.
Calus, I'm giving you the chance to have a sense of superiority over him. I know I get why you're dating Lundy. It's nice to date someone you feel superior to all the time. I get it, right? But at the end of the day, Matt is someone we don't need to
Jesus Christ! Like everyone keeps saying, like you've settled, Cal. It's, you know, I'm not fucking a dead
I don't think
rat,
you've settled.
right?
I think you've decided to sort of go. I think it's some sort of extreme fetish, some kinky deviance sort of thing. I think it's beyond settling.
It's
You know?
really sad. Everyone I've told I'm dating Lundy is disgusted by it, as
Yeah,
if I'm like fucking a
do
homeless
you
man on the
realise?
side of the
Do you
road.
realise how difficult the phrase "I'm dating Lundy" is to be taken as someone could say that, and without any sense of
This is
sarcasm
horrible.
or irony. I mean,
This is horrible.
it's like when people, it's like when your mate who's really sort of ugly and spotty and unattractive pulls some really hot girl because they're having a snog and ugly bloke competition, and she wins, and it's like it's like, and he brags about it, But when I mean, he's bragging about this. He's going, "Hey, I've gone black and I'm never going back," and everyone else is going, "Good, we never asked you to come back. We did." You were never going to be invited to return, right? But if that's what it takes for you to do it voluntarily, we're all for that, And I'm a full supporter of your of what you've chosen to do with your life. I don't agree with it. I think it's wrong.
What is your question, Matt? What is your question? Matt, what is your question?
Matt, go on.
Oh my God, you forgot.
Matt forgot his question.
Is it about?
Thank
is
God.
it about me?
Because
Is it about me with Monday? Is this about another shot?
Is it
at
anything
me?
to do with? Is it like when you asked what does purple taste like when we were watching
That's my question. Was my question about you and Lundy? That's my new question. That's my substitute question.
What is about me?
Who's the wicket keeper? Who's the bowler? Is that what you're going to ask? Who's the pitcher? Who's the catcher? Is that what you're going to ask? Because I'm telling you now, Lundy takes it. He does whatever
Everybody knows
tells
that.
him.
Like, you look at Lundy, he's got sloppy party bottom written all over him.
Sloppy party bottom.
Like in circle jerk.
Lundy's just trying to fulfill the obligation that he needs to be able to cover his ass when he says something inconveniently racist.
In a circle jerk situation, like Lundy would be eating
no,
biscuit.
No, fucked up. That's fucked up. Shredder was just like me saying I'm dating Lundy is comparable to masturbating to Brett Keane. Really?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. No, I think bestiality is less offensive.
Oh my God, that's offensive.
I mean, masturbating to Brett Keane's like climbing, Mount Everest or going across sailing across the world. Walking to the North Pole.
For like a nice, you could have settled for some nice, a nice moldy piece of bread or like a rock or a tree or something.
He could have gone out there and got a homeless person or employed some kind of retarded child. But no, he went for Lundy. He did it in a way that was actually legal.
For a homeless person.
No, but the homeless people is they've got. The thing about homeless people is their teeth are so bad. They have such bad teeth that it creates a sort of fetish blowjob appeal that you can't get unless you've got someone whose teeth are badly crooked.
I wonder how that would feel. Okay, I don't even know why I asked that. God damn, all of you.
You need to get someone who has fake hillbilly dentures or who is British. This was. Old woman who you can get to. Can you wear these wonky sort of hillbilly fucking dicks that you get at joke shops, and
then make my dick feel nice.
Yeah. Or some kind of barnyard animal with
Lundy's sloppy party bottom should be your next stand-up, apparently.
I think that should be the new password for the channel.
Lundy's sloppy party bottom.
But then we should put 489 at the end for no reason, just to make people confused. Just to right, why is it 489? There's 488 other people called Lundy with sloppy party bottom. There's a challenge that should be an interesting documentary. Go around the world. How many people can you find called Lundy? Who have what you like the first interview?
Hey, apparently Devon Dudley was in Scotland at the time of the whole thing.
Please, as if a black man's ever gone to Scotland, right? As if.
Oh, wow.
I lived there for 2 years. I'm telling you now, I was never within 1,000-mile radius of anyone from any sort of who wasn't borderline transparent and ginger, covered in freckles, and on heroin and eating battered Mars bars.
Some MRA guy that Coughlin was arguing with, I think he was not Coughlin, fucking Lundy was arguing with.
I don't argue with
he
him,
said
alright.
something-
Yeah.
I think he said something about like there aren't race problems in some part of the UK he's a part of.
Oh yeah,
Coughlin.
Total Biscuit. He said no. He said there's no
Hey,
racism in
hey.
Britain. He's, you know, which is not unusual
Hey.
for a white man who
Hey.
doesn't live here anymore
Hey.
to say.
Hey.
Yeah.
Go on, Matt.
What?
Try and drag this back into its
Okay.
into some form of direction that's connected to the topic.
Well, it's
Ask a question.
so,
Can I just say this was funny? When Rusev Cena was announced, you tried to act as if you were some kind of wrestling Nostradamus, and you went, "Hey, remember when I said Rusev would face Cena?" And I went, "No, I have no recollection of you ever even
I'm
saying
just
those
saying,
words."
I got something right.
Matt, where did you think
And
of this on
don't
your
turn
own?
this into another Mae Young
Did you
situation.
think Did you come to this conclusion on your own because you have this perceptive booking technique with wrestling, or did you read it somewhere on a dirt sheet like everyone else did, like I did 27 other times on other websites, because it was common knowledge that Rusev was going to fight Cena at some point?
Okay.
Let him answer the
I just
question.
knew it as soon as they made a big
You've
deal
never
of
just
Rusev
known
having,
anything.
like,
You've never just known anything. You
As
might
soon
have
as they-
forgotten where you heard it, but you never just know anything.
Okay, go ahead.
As soon as they
Matt.
started making a big deal, about, like, hey, Rusev's undefeated, it's like, they're probably
Yeah,
going to
but
feed
Matt,
him to
the
John
problem
Cena.
is that neither I have no. Whenever I've talked to you about wrestling, you've never said this. Maybe you thought you said it whilst you were asking me what's the square root of the colour J, during.
Well, we probably would never know if I said it because we talk over each other 90%
No, Matt,
of the show.
we don't talk over each
So-
other. You talk over me, and then I finish it.
Okay, let's.
It's like King
Oh,
and
of course.
Hedra
It's
in
my
here.
fault I never heard the thing you never said because I was too busy.
Let's not be so harsh to each other. Come on.
No, but this is part of the entertainment thing. Okay, let's sell this.
Yeah.
Try and sell it. Don't. It's like, Vince McMahon doesn't want Randy Savage in the Hall of Fame because he fucked his daughter while she was not of legal age. I get that. And he gave Triple H sloppy seconds. No, they're never going to acknowledge this, but they've got to put him in there because it's what sells. And this, Matt versus me sells.
Hogan should be induct. Who was going to induct Hogan?
Is that the topic? Like Randy going into the Hall of Fame?
They should get Stephanie to do it just for the awkwardness of everyone sitting there going.
Stephanie should dress like a 14-year-old girl whilst doing it too.
I think she was having flashbacks of Randy Savage on Raw because she was talking to Ryback about going, "Oh, I'll feed you more until you choke and gag on it." I thought, I bet she's heard that before, so somewhere from the fact that on this podcast, on the Stone Cold podcast, Triple H said they weren't sure about letting Chyna in the Hall of Fame. I'm like, right, you're letting the guy who fucked your wife when she was, a teenager, but you're letting the Ultimate Warrior in. You're not gonna let Chyna in because she's done porn. Which, let's face it, in terms of where it stands on the artistic scale with wrestling, it's on the same sort of level, isn't it? Really. At least
I'll be
real.
honest, it's probably more that. It's probably more that they won't let her in because, I'll be honest, like when she dies, they'll let her in. Like when she can't fucking go up there and just say something fucking stupid.
She's probably going to be the first person to have every STD at the same time. Is what it's going to be.
I mean, it's not like
that's the thing that I think. Oh, sorry, Kaylin. I was just going to say that's the thing I think that's keeping her out of the Hall of Fame is.
Oh, well, come on. They put Jimmy Snuka in. He killed a woman. Got Hall in. He killed somebody. Jimmy Snuka
wouldn't go up there and be like, "Hey, everybody, thanks for letting me in the Hall of Fame. I killed a bitch. So, good night."
Jake Robertson.
Say that. Wait,
Jake Robertson.
Say that. Like, they all said fucking stupid shit. Why?
How many women has Austin punched in the face? How many women did Austin punch in the face while he was off his tit? How many bad things have...
Like, Jimmy Snuka said stupid shit. A lot of them did. Why are you giving Chyna shit?
But, like, I'm just saying, Chyna was like, if she got
Val Venus exists. Val Venus was acceptable as a character who was a porn star. They can't let a real woman who was in there, who was actually a very important and, very original, groundbreaking kind of character, because she's a porn star.
She probably should be.
Triple
Well,
H's
I'm just saying,
excuse as well.
like,
He talks about the fact that, you know, my son's 8 years old and he Googles China to find out about it. I'm like, well, put a fucking porn block on your internet. Can you not afford one, Hunter?
It's like a Jake the Snake situation. It's like maybe if she got cleaned up and shit, like they probably would let her in. But like
yeah, there's nothing
right now, she's a fucking mess.
No thing is, Jake Roberts was fucked up to the point where he was on the verge of suicide, and he was a very bad. I mean, she doesn't seem to be in any sort of bad place. She seems to be, you know, perfectly happy and comfortable with what she's doing. She's not known to, she hasn't done anything bad as a consequence of being an incoherent, rambling mess of a human being.
It's like you're setting all of these standards for like China to surpass that like everyone else can't measure up to. A lot of other dudes were worse than she is.
And also, the first woman who was ever in the Royal Rumble, the first woman to have the Intercontinental title, the first woman to sort of basically be on the same level as the men, is not going to be in the Hall of Fame. That's kind of...
And you're gonna say she's a mess and she doesn't deserve to be in it. I don't even understand what the fuck you're saying.
I'm not saying she. Why do you say she can't fucking deserve to be in it?
What if they want to put DX in the Hall of Fame? Are they not going to ask China?
After she's dead, though.
I was saying why they probably aren't gonna induct her in there. Like that's all I said. I didn't say she should or should not be in there.
Yeah, you said after she's dead.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
If drugs are a good enough reason. Randy Savage should not be in the Hall of Fame because he was on coke his entire career. I don't think I ever saw that man on screen whilst he was in non-intoxicated. He couldn't have done his promos without the wonder of, you know, the coca leaf and the extract that we get from it. You know, Jake Roberts is, you know, married 14 women, never saw his kids, was you know, shagging his brains out behind his wife's back and doing all sorts of things. Yeah, name one wrestler who's got apart from Cena, who's never done anything ever, who's like the nicest man who's ever existed. Apart from him and Daniel Bryan, who's never going to do anything shocking because of the fact that he's basically a vegetarian with no TV, who, you know, is happy growing vegetables in his back garden. Who else are you going to get? You know, Hogan did a porn. He did a homemade one, not even a professional one. Yeah. Hello? I've lost sound.
Oh, no, you haven't, sir. I accidentally muted myself.
Yeah.
Matt, I'm not saying you didn't say that. What I'm saying is that everything you said about China meant, like, the men have been worse about it. Not only that, but you're saying she'll make an ass out of herself, which, I mean, who the hell hasn't? And what makes you think she will? Not only that, but China hasn't really acted in any sort of way that makes her to be some sort of disaster of a human being. I mean, yeah, she's been in porn and done stupid shit, but
let's be honest. Mae Young, do we believe Mae Young has not got some huge skeleton? She's got Jason and the Argonauts in her closet. She hasn't got skeletons.
Pretty much.
She's got, you know, you're telling me that woman who was basically mental, and I love Mae Young. I thought she's brilliant, but you're telling me that woman has not got some incredibly sort of, you know, weird and, you know, shocking shit that she did behind the scenes. Of course, yeah. Look at Pat Patterson and the Cream team. You know, Patterson is allowed to. He basically, you know, forced wrestlers to blow him in return for getting a good push, maybe, you know, and, you know, not that kind of push. You know, I mean, you can't sort of pick and choose your morality because she's a porn star. Okay.
Matt, that may not be what you're saying. It's just that's how it comes across when you say that. Well, she may say something stupid, like who hasn't really?
I mean, it's impressive she's become a porn star, given the fact that her surgery has made her. She went from like quite attractive after her surgery to borderline not even human. Right? She looks like she's moved so much of her face around and changed so much that she doesn't even look like a person now.
She looks more like.
She looks nothing like she used to. She looks she's unrecognisable from when she was, you know, which isn't a bad thing, but she's gone completely the other way of unrecognisable terms of like.
She looks somewhat inhuman.
It's like the Elephant Man saying, "I want this lump on my head moved over there." You know, it's like, well, what's the point in that? You know, I want my deformed hand to be put onto the other side of my body, and have a third deformed hand. She'll be. Who cares? You know, Lita went out with one of the Hardy Boys. You're telling me she didn't? There weren't a load of, you know, points where she was off her Trocker. Don't let Jeff Hardy ever in, or Kurt Angle, because Kurt Angle's a bad example because he's a drunk driver who.
She also made a really nasty remark at Ray, which I guess it was a joke, but it was kind of fucked up.
Yeah, but come on, let's be honest. These are things that at the time might be bad. It's like if someone's gonna. There was someone sort of jokingly making saying when Triple H announced he was going to do an announcement on Raw. There was on a forum someone said, Benoit's coming back, and I said, even if he could do that. The last person he should fight is someone called Daniel, whose last name begins with B. Right? That should not be a feud. They should put Chris Benoit in, because the last person he encountered, called Daniel B, didn't end up too well. You know what's funny? I think at one point Daniel Bryan put the crippler crossface onto Seth Rollins, and you could tell the announcers were going, "Oh, it's that move that bloke invented, which he used to kill his son and wife. We can't use, so we're going to sit here and just say it's a submission maneuver. And we're going to try and quickly find out what the hell we're supposed to call this thing, because we don't want to call it that thing that the bloke who murdered his family called it." It's so funny. Maybe they could have a division in the Hall of Fame for criminals and murderers and people who have done things that are morally reprehensible, just so we can stop having the debate. Yeah.
Well, if they can have a convict called Nails, then why the fuck not?
Yeah. But Nails was about God, Napalm could have had a better match with himself than Nails. I don't think Nails just basically didn't punch people whilst dressed as a Guantanamo Bay detainee. That was all he ever did. They brought him in to have a feud with Boss Man, and then it ended, and it was like, well, what's the point in him now? He's fought the guy who arrested him. You've kind of given him nothing to do now.
And wasn't he sent back to prison or something, storyline wise?
Probably, He probably was actually literally sent back to prison in real life. It's that and Eugene are just some of the worst. Eugene is the worst gimmick ever, I think, created, and I feel sorry for the poor sod who has to fucking live with that as his legacy.
That's what he uses on the independent circuit now. That's his gimmick. He is Eugene.
I know, but that's because he has to sell it. Because otherwise, people are like, "You're Eugene. Pretend to be retarded." That's what we want to see. We want to see you. We want to watch a wrestling match, because we're never going to get to see a real retarded man have a match with a guy who is perfectly mentally stable and doesn't have any severe disorders. So we want to see you do it. That's your job, is to satisfy that shameful part of us that wants to see a retarded person have a fight with someone.
What about Rikishi? Or Rikishi Fatu, that's who he is now. He walks around with the shades and shit. It's so sad. That's what he goes by. It's Rikishi.
But, even him. He was just. What did he do? He had a big arse, yeah. But you've got to use his arse if it's that big. You can't have an arse that big and not fucking take advantage of it. Look at Yokozuna. What was his finishing maneuver? Sitting on someone after jumping off the second rope. That's what you give a bloke with a big arse.
Pretty much.
Because that's what I would do if I had an arse that big. I would just sit on the person. Why doesn't Big Show do that? Big Show should just grab them and fall forwards, and he'd win every match. He would have been champion for 15 years.
The only place that Eugene can wrestle now is Ohio Valley Wrestling. It's just Nick Dinsmore, I think.
Because that's the only place they don't have a special needs school. To protest outside.
Hey Matt, you there? Matt.
Couldn't they do that as a way of sort of killing the character off? Actually go and find a genuine wrestler who has something like Down syndrome and have him come in and attack Nick Dinsmore. And have Nick Dinsmore sell it and get absolutely annihilated by a genuinely disabled wrestler. That would be,
Or have a bucket fall on his head, and he's like, "I'm cured now."
And it's Vince McMahon, so we'll give the kid a lollipop as a payment, and then take it off him because he didn't sign his contract because he can't write.
Fuck that guy. Oh my god.
I also want to say, can I just say the funniest thing that came on Raw was Bubba Ray Dudley tweeted how great he thought Rusev was, and tweeted out a picture of Rusev, and it just so happened to be a picture where in the front row a guy is holding up a sign saying "Devon, get the contracts." I've never seen such a blatantly dishonest piece of begging and pleading in my life from someone trying to sort of get a message out there. You know, yeah, you like Rusev. Yeah, that guy's got a sign saying you two should be signed again. Oh yeah, what a coincidence.
All right, Matt, you alive?
And kudos to the person at Raw who had a Benoit 324 sign and managed to get it in and get it on camera when Dean Ambrose was walking down the aisle. That person should be a drugs mule, because how they got that past anyone? You can't get anything past their security.
What do you think about Seth Rollins now and his? I think he's somewhat like Edge now, isn't he, Seth Rollins?
Well, the problem with Seth Rollins at the moment, I mean, the thing is, he's doing the Money in the Bank thing where he's losing a lot because it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, he can cash in and win his title anytime he wants. But I mean, they're using him right. I mean, they're using him right because if you've got Money in the Bank, you don't need a feud as such because you're basically sat there. You can be used for anything. But Raw was just, SmackDown results. If you don't want spoilers, and let's face it, you're not going to watch SmackDown anyway, so who cares? SmackDown main event was Daniel Bryan versus J&J Security and Seth Rollins in a handicap match, and Daniel Bryan won. And I think it's funny that ever since the Royal Rumble, Daniel Bryan has main evented every single TV show they've done, and Reigns has been like opening match, middle, and it's like you're really sort of, you're kind of admitting, by your booking, that Reigns is not ready to. If you can't main event SmackDown, you can't main event. You can't beat Big Show.
Yeah.
But he did do an epic spear on Monday Night Raw where he jumped from halfway down the aisle and smashed into Big Show.
The thing is that they don't have confidence in him, but they're not booking him correctly, so there's really nothing they can do.
The question is, we don't need him to have a load of moves. You don't need to have a shitload of moves. Austin had less moves than Cena, right? I mean, Ultimate Warrior didn't have any moves. The Rock only had a few moves, really. I mean, The Rock didn't have as many moves as you think he did. He was just good at selling, good at doing the ones he did. And even Undertaker now, Undertaker, because of his age and the fact that he's basically made out of balsa wood, can't do pretty much anything, so everyone has to do all the stuff for him. And in CM Punk match at WrestleMania, you'll notice CM Punk did things like the old school spot as a way, because Undertaker obviously can't do it. And the fact he got a concussion from an arm drag by Brock Lesnar, which to be fair is, I would be turned into vapor if Brock Lesnar so much as touched me. But but I'm not meant to be the dead man, and this is the problem. And I'm pissed off that they're putting him against Bray Wyatt, because I think Bray Wyatt, that's what they're doing, this should be the time he loses. He's the wrestler who should be given something like that, because you've made a guy at that point. You've taken a guy who's credible as a world champion contender.
I gotta admit though. Wait for one thing, Matt. Are you there? Hold on before we.
I've never had this much fun during a broadcast, and it's because Matt has vanished. Probably. He's probably.
Fucking damn it! Whatever.
He could be dead. He's probably been taken hostage or beheaded on the internet by ISIS. And he'll finally have the viral video he's always wanted.
I think that's what happened. To what was the guy's name? The fucking shit. He was the terrorist guy who came out against.
Oh yeah. It was something obvious like Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad, I think that's it, right?
Yeah, Muhammad Muk Al Qaeda Taliban III or something like that. Sheikh. The Islamic bastard would be a much better. They should just have the terrorists. That would be great. The terrorists, just be obvious with it.
Right. The smarts, the IWC loved him. Like they
you
were
know
like,
the thing is, he was actually in being considered for a world title push, but they thought it might be a little bit too sort of exploitative of the whole sort of war on terror and the general sort of hatred of Muslims that is rife throughout Western society to throw. And I'm like, quite fun. Do you know what? Also, I found out what the storyline involving Vince McMahon's limo blowing up was supposed to end up being. It was supposed to be.
What was it?
Apparently, it was supposed to involve Mr. Kennedy was responsible for blowing up Vince's limo, and he was going to be the guy who, obviously this was, Benoit fucking stole the show with this one, so we never would have gotten to see it. But it was meant to be an angle from Mr. Kennedy to say he killed Vince McMahon, obviously, and then his family would never ever bother prosecuting him for murdering their father, because why do that when you can have a cage match at No Way Out in
Why would Mr. Kennedy blow up Vince McMahon? That just seems so weird.
Well, because obviously Mr. Kennedy is just, he figured this is the only way to. This is the brass ring. The brass ring.
The brass ring is murder.
The only way to get the brass ring is to kill Vince McMahon, thus eliminating the guy who's setting that one, and hopefully whoever's in charge will be a guy who appreciates the fact that I've given him. Triple H will then go, "Thank you, Mr. Kennedy, for killing my father-in-law and getting rid of that senile old codger who couldn't book two midgets in a fucking in a Jello fighting contest. He couldn't sell sand to he couldn't sell an ice cream to an Arab at this point. He's completely insane, and I'm just sat here waiting for him to die, contemplating poisoning." That's what I got from Triple H's Austin podcast.
Holy shit! Yeah, pretty much like. I know a lot of people are in love with NXT. But honestly, like they're different. I stand by the opinion that there are differences between NXT and the general raw audience. Like what was that vaudeville thing? Apparently, there's two guys who come out and they're supposed to be like a silent movie or something. I can't remember their names. They're like an NXT wrestling team. Like that, and the stories are streamlined. So. I think Coughlin's froze. Oh, fucking hell. And this sucks and is very awkward. Matt's gone, Coughlin's frozen. I don't. Fuck. Well, this sucked. Shit. Well, there goes the show. That's total D-bags, or the total fuck-ups in this situation. Fuck me. Vaudevillians, thanks Shredder. The Vaudevillians, thanks a lot, Shredder. Looking forward to Steen versus Generico on NXT. Yeah, I need to watch them in NXT. Matt and I were going to do these NXT reviews where we basically would do like a live watch of NXT. I believe on the same week we were going to do a live watch of TNA. Just so how we could kind of compare, like, I guess a good wrestling product to whatever TNA is supposed to be. But I'm told TNA is actually fairly decent. Now it's only me and you, Callants. Yep, yes it is. Thank you. Excellent. Coughlin is back.
Yeah.
Androgynous buttocks and I were trying to hold down the fort while you were gone.
Oh, thank God. Well, I'm amazed this channel is even still up. In the time I've been away, because given Matt's propensity to,
I'm not sure where Matt is though. I'm gonna have to.
Matt's the kind of guy who was hired as a security guard the morning of 9/11 at the World Trade Centers. The guy who was,
Let's not. Matt's gone. Let's since he's not really here to defend himself. Let's move it.
He's not really here to defend himself when he's here to defend himself, though, is he? I mean, he's. It's like having Ernest P. Worrell as your defense in a trial.
He's doing his impression of Rob Van Dam, is what Shredder said.
Well, he's stoned to the point where he manages to pass wellness tests against all fucking common sense and logic, and never gets tested in the 3 months he's there.
He's tested for. He goes off to smoke for 3 months and then he comes back.
But then I do the Randy Orton thing, and I somehow allow him to get away with it purely because there is an element of him driving me to the point of hatred and insanity that people find amusing. And
you are the Vince McMahon of our product.
I do what's best for business. I am a one man. I'm the ultimate philanthropist. I give more than not people with money. I mean, apart from people who give hundreds of millions of dollars and their lives, I give people my fucking turmoil from listening to Matt talk bollocks about men pretending to hit each other in their underpants whilst covered in oil. It's
Well, I mean, that would work if we ran like some sort of gay porn type of podcast. Why not?
We may as well. Quite frankly, I think we would attract the same sort of weirdos that we have attracted to. I'm amazed we've got a subscriber on this channel. I'm amazed anyone hangs around because I find it's all Matt's fault, obviously, and
well, Matt's a good guy. What did Shredder say?
I'm not saying he's a bad guy. He's just an idiot, and I hate him. And he's not. Look, do you know what I like about Matt on this channel is he represents that gullible Mark who has all the skepticism of a 9-year-old when watching wrestling, and he falls for so many things that a guy of his age should have worked out by now are not are actually written into the script.
Keep in mind, everyone, Coughlin is joking. He loves Matt as much as I love Matt.
I'm playing the character of a
guy. Tell right now.
I'm playing the character. It's satire, right? I'm dustifying. I'm doing the cult of Dusty defense. Everything horrible I say about Matt is satire, right? But even though it's satire, ironically, it's also what I actually believe. In fact, I'm dumbing it down to.
Shredder, apparently McIntyre has been signed with, was it Shredder? Drew Galloway, McIntyre has signed with TNA.
George Galloway has gone to TNA, and he should have stayed at ICW. The Scottish promotion he was with, ICW, is really good. My friend Billy Kirkwood does commentary for it, and that guy Grado, who was in one of he's fantastic. I love. We should have Greytex on here one day. Why? Why don't we just have?
That would be amazing. We could have him. We should have him.
Let's call that Gore Vidal and Andrea Dworkin from and some other. Paulie Lamb. Let's have Paulie Lamb on here and just pretend it's a discussion. But actually, we just want to talk about wrestling.
I would love to have him give his thoughts on on one episode of Raw, just some random episode of Raw.
I would pay money to make him sit through pick a wrestling event and make him sit through it, and pick one of the most ridiculous, stupid events, and see. Let's make him watch the Royal Rumble and see if even he. Because if you were going to redo that so the people at the end were not booing the guy out of the building and wishing death upon him, how would you do it? And he'd say, well, I take that little hairy motherfucker and I put him in there for the whole match, and the guy at the end, I wouldn't have had that tall, big, fat fuck and the guy in the trousers and the guy Kane who just wears slacks into the ring. The Funkasaur, not the Funkasaur. What was it? I think that was the Funkasaurus, right? Yeah.
He's also apparently.
He's called Tyrone or Tyrese or.
Tyrone.
Tycoon or Tyrannosaurus.
Stereotypical coon flamboyant.
Or Ty Green Curry or whatever the hell he's called or something. Yeah. Okay. Who do you think would be? Think of a YouTuber and think who would their favourite wrestler be? Right. So in Endem, his favourite wrestler would obviously be the Ultimate Warrior because that's who he is. Obviously, he's been on a diet, and
I'm going to say that Skep would probably love Vince McMahon when he was a part of the corporation.
Yeah. I think the amazing 80s would have to love someone who's a sociopath who really sort of and an ignorant twat who just exploits the people who follow them for cash. So that would be when that would be DX when they came back in 2008 and basically were just marketing.
So X-Pac then.
Yeah, people like him, but he doesn't really care. It would be someone like CM Punk or Goldberg, you know what I mean, or Brock Lesnar. He would like Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is a mercenary who just does this for money.
I will say one thing about Goldberg versus CM Punk.
Yeah.
Goldberg pretends to give a shit about people who like him. CM Punk just doesn't care.
Yeah. And also, you don't feel too bad about Goldberg, not wrestling that much because he was actually shit. He was kind of
really fucking terrible.
With CM Punk, it's wasted talent, and I will enjoy watching him get annihilated in UFC if that's what happens, because I just feel he kind of needs to be brought down a peg or two. I don't disagree with him on everything about he said in the podcast, but I think he needs to be brought down a peg or two because it's like stop whinging, shut up.
He needs the shit knocked out of him. He needs to be humbled, basically.
I think it's just like surely every wrestler dreams of headlining WrestleMania, bar none. So to sit there and have a hissy fit because it's not you, right? And because you've been given a duff. How do you think Damien Mizdow feels? With his career. How do you think some people look at Heath Slater? Heath Slater goes out there and does some shit that publicly you should be ashamed to. He should struggle to look his family in the face and say this is what he does for a living. But he does it because at least he's getting some kind of exposure and he can exploit that when he's finally released.
So apparently Kurt Angle beat Bobby Roode for the TNA
No, he beat Bobby
World
Lashley.
Champion.
He beat Bobby Lashley because Lashley had regained the title. TNA have gone back to swapping the title every week.
I thought Bobby Roode... How quickly did Bobby Roode lose it to Bobby Lashley?
Oh, about 5 minutes, because it's TNA and they've just started on a new network, so they need to give as many reasons for you to watch as possible, so they're Russoing the fuck out of their product with swerves and title changes.
That's fucking... So is Kurt Angle a face? Is Bobby Lashley... I can never tell who's a face.
It's TNA. I can't ever work out what's going on. I just think the idea that a borderline crippled man who lives in constant pain could lose to Bobby Lashley, who should be able to just... I mean, Bobby Lashley's head is like a fucking medicine ball. He should be able to batter people just headbutt them and they'll collapse. He's got a face that's 3 times too small for his...
giant head.
I reckon you could Photoshop Bobby Lashley's face and just make it bigger and it would fit and he'd look sort of normal then. He just looks a little bit... He looks like an overgrown child. He looks like a muscly child.
So going back to Goldberg a little bit, I actually saw a fight. I actually saw a match between he and Scott Steiner when Scott Steiner was roided out and used to go around calling himself the Big Booty Daddy. It lasted for all of 2 minutes. It was a 10-minute match, but 7 minutes of it was devoted to them getting into the ring.
Well, let's face it, Scott Steiner was one of those guys who was just about the fact that he was insane to a point where it was entertaining even though it was awful. If it was deliberate, you couldn't write a Scott Steiner. You had to just let him go. He's just absolutely mental. There's a funny story by not AJ Styles, the guy who does that Canadian Destroyer move that is one of the most ridiculous finishes I've ever seen in my life, because it requires the guy to do a backflip, which is the problem I have with it. It's like, just stand up. Just stand still and you won't end up getting that move. But apparently Scott Steiner wanted to try and wanted it to be done on him. And I'm like, oh God, this guy can barely walk to the ring.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the ability. He can't even scratch his ass. His muscles are too big and they get in the way. It's like,
it's really weird. They had some weird angle where everybody who was a part of the New Blood, which was this massive stable, they were being hunted down by the Millionaires Club, which were people like Kevin Nash. And he was taking a leak once, and his arms were just jutted out
I mean, a man on that amount of steroids, he must have his genitalia must be concave. The amount of steroids he must have. He must have testicles that defy that biologically are incapable of hanging under this shriveled up raisin
He looked like he was stuck in the fucking stall. That shit was like, that's what's
when you watch that match between him and Triple H at the Rumble, it's like he's like the anti-Brock Lesnar. Every suplex he gets worse. You know, with Brock Lesnar, it's like Brock Lesnar just suplexes John Cena 16 times in a row, and you're like, yes, this is better and better every time. Whereas with Steiner, it's like, okay, you know a suplex. Can you do another move? Just give me an inkling that you can remember one other wrestling maneuver at the moment. You're not that fucking stupid, surely. But,
what did they say? Like, they're all... that and Scott Steiner had the worst fucking promos. You're all faggots. Everybody's a faggot.
No, but they were great in being so bad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true, actually.
It's like Booker T on commentary. He's dreadful, but good at the same time.
Yeah, actually, I'll give you that, because I remember when he went after Buff Bagwell, and he said that everybody knows you're Buff. Ooh, Buff's such a hot, sexy boy. Buff loves the men, or some shit. I'm like, this is the most homophobic, yet hilariously stupid thing I've seen in my life.
You know, it's like, apparently, according to everyone, I mean, everyone who sort of knew him, which, you know, obviously, I imagine, I don't know whether they still do, but apparently everyone who ever knew him or hung out with him said he was literally like that. He would fumble and misspeak all the time. Like, he couldn't get a sentence out without fucking up.
So he was literally a meathead then.
Yeah, he could not. Well, I mean, he's got so many steroids in his head, in his brain, that he only had room for so many words, and you know he couldn't speak unless it was 150 decibels, and and it just was an incoherent ramble. It's like a sort of prog rock song. It goes on, no matter how long it goes on, you know, you just don't know what's happening. But you know, some people like it, some people don't. You know.
I remember some insane rant he went on once about the Frankensteiner and how it's called the Frankensteiner and how it's not, and how because it had some other name, and then he's like, it's a Frankensteiner.
People were just sat there, you know, enjoying watching this idiot get upset about something that should not be an issue for a man of his age. Do you know what the funny thing was, when I first saw Scott Steiner in WCW, because I hadn't watched wrestling for a couple of years between like '94. After a year of Kevin Nash as champion, I stopped watching wrestling for a few years to recover and to get, you know, and then I started watching again in like '96, '97. And you know, I remember seeing Scott Steiner as Scott Steiner, and I didn't realise for ages that he was the same Scott Steiner from the Steiner Brothers. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until I was like, oh my god.
It was like, right, so he literally must have just gone to a petrol station, stuck one of the things you used to inflate your tyres up his arse, and left it there for an hour. And that's what happened to him, because there's no way. You know, and you know, it's like, don't call yourself a genetic freak. That is an insult to genetics. I want a geneticist to debunk Scott Steiner's claim that he is a naturally occurring, you know, muscle man.
It was the Hurricane Rana. That's what the argument was about. Yeah, because it's called a Thank you, Shredder. It's called a He got angry that it was called a Hurricane Rana, so he spent about 5 minutes yelling about how
it was called a Frankensteiner because he did it. Therefore, it was a monstrosity of a move. So you had to rename it. It's like when you see Cena do a drop kick. It's like, well, he's making an effort at least, but don't do a drop kick, John. You know, just. It's hard to, you know, watch.
I will say that actually, like when John Cena crawled up Cesaro's body after being swung by him, I'm like, that's actually pretty cool.
Well, I mean, let's be fair. If you could have the success that he's had and only do 5 moves, why the fuck would you bother making another one? What's the point? You know, what's the point in doing more when you're already the most successful person in the history of the company? You know, it's unnecessary. You know, Daniel Bryan has to because he's small, so you need to believe he has to do more. And same with CM Punk. And the guys who are smaller are more technical and have a bigger repertoire, because otherwise you couldn't believe Daniel Bryan could punch someone into submission. It would be like, what? You know, it'd be like, it's ridiculous. You know,
like smaller guys need to have a larger move set in order to get across.
Well, I mean, and also, you know, that's the thing about Cena that people who don't get. The people who hate him are the reason he's still not there, because they don't hate it. They don't like other people. They just hate him, and it's like, you know, that's the problem. It's like, if you're cheering for him, even if you're chanting Cena sucks, the fact that you're focusing on him says to the promoter, this is the guy who people are invested in, even if it's because they hate him. And,
all right. And to answer Shredder's question, yeah, I do remember Rob Terry I do remember Scott Steiner insinuating that Rob Terry was on steroids.
Well, I mean, he would know. I mean, I would say this of Scott Steiner. If there's someone whose opinion I trust, if I trust his opinion on anything, it's being able to spot someone who's on steroids, because that's probably all he can see. His eyes are so he's so juiced up on the thing. He can only see people who are on steroids too. Everyone else is invisible to him.
I remember one time I was so horrified by Scott Steiner's arms, I just spent like the entire day going like, what the fuck?
He's kind of got like the male version of Madonna's arms, like just look like an old man's penis. It just looks like a load of snakes have crawled into a big pink sack and are being forced in. And you're like, ugh. And like, how does he fucking, how does that work? How do you have veins popping out of your veins aren't supposed to pop out. I'm pretty sure that's not what evolution intended. I think they're under your skin and inside your body for a reason. His veins are going, let me out, I can't handle this anymore. I don't remember what blood tastes like. I've just got pure adrenochrome running through me.
It's funny because it's like his arms. I remember seeing a picture of him like years after he left WCW, and like his arms are just like deflated now. They're just lumps of like.
His workout DVD is definitely worth a giggle, right? Because there's a bit where he's going, he's doing these weights, and he goes, once it starts hurting, just keep going. I'm like, that is the worst advice you would give someone in a training video or an exercise video. Is when it starts to hurt, just keep on going. No, the idea is when it hurts, you stop, and then you have a rest, and then you carry on afterwards. You don't keep going when your muscles have dislocated or have come away from the bone.
What did Shredder say? Shredder said if the fans turned their backs on Cena's matches, like they did to Val Venus in TNA during his match against Christopher Daniels, I guarantee WWE would freak out. Well, yeah, they would, because.
Well, and also here's the thing about Cena. I think that the atmosphere he creates by having this diverse opinion amongst fans actually makes the matches more interesting, because people are split and there's this it makes them more it puts a new sort of an added energy to it, where it's like when Hogan fought The Rock. I mean, it was as a match it was not that great because Hogan is useless, but it was interesting watching the fans enjoy themselves, which is it's always a rare sight these days. It's something that when
fans enjoy themselves at a wrestling match.
Yeah, which normally they have to go somewhere where they never visit. They have to visit another country where they have one wrestling event every year for the fans to enjoy it, because they're just happy to be there. They're like, it's like a dying kid at Disneyland. They're just excited to be here. They don't care whether it's actually any good or any fun. We'll always have that.
I'm just glad that I'm here doing something with my life and not in crippling pain.
That's the interesting thing that's going to be interesting at WrestleMania and the night after WrestleMania, is because the fans are usually real hardcore smarks, and I'm like, if Roman Reigns is going to beat Brock Lesnar by doing a move that Brock Lesnar would normally laugh at, which is a spear and a Superman punch, that's terrifying. And then he's going to go to Raw the next night. It's like they've got to have surely turned him heel, or at least
they have to at this point.
Have Paul Heyman, to turn on Brock Lesnar and then have him talk for Reigns and say that.
That's what I think. That's what I think would really help Reigns, if someone like Heyman was to talk for him, because he has the moves, he has the look. He just needs some. Exactly, he just needs some voice.
Speak and spell anything. A random word generator. Just have get Coco the Silverback Gorilla to sign.
Microsoft Tom.
Well, I get the feeling they must be going that way, because I can't think why they would put him in a fight against Daniel Bryan at Fastlane unless they felt that. There's no way. If we might as well put him in a match. Even he's going to get booed either way. Put him in a match where we know it's going to happen. Then at least we can see how he deals with that, or what the outcome is. And I actually think Ziggler's going to interfere in that match, cost Bryan thing, and that's why Bryan and Ziggler will fight at WrestleMania. Personally.
Honestly, I really want Roman Reigns to actually go places and do well. It's just right now he's just.
I don't think anyone wants him to do badly. I just think we want him to actually feel like he's actually worth investing in, because it's not his, like I said, it's not his fault he hasn't been given a single thing to do. But that's what our problem is. It's like why do we care? The only question wrestling fan asks is, why do I care about this guy and why do I want him to win? I can see why people. It's obvious why people want Bryan to win, or Ziggler, or anyone else. We can see why. It's obvious why we hate Seth Rollins, or we don't like this guy. It's not obvious to anyone. No one can tell me give me a good reason why I'm supposed to give a shit that this big, buff, muscly, scary, hard man who has got the right to be in the position he's in, other than the fact that John Cena may have.
Well, there goes Coughlin. Do. Looks like it's you and it. Androgynous buttocks. It's you and I again, holding it down. Yeah, Brock Lesnar was an MMA fighter, and then he left because because he's too old. Shredder would know, because he's like the fucking Rain Man of wrestling right now. So, let's see, who else said something? Yeah, Heyman would be a great spokesman for Reigns. Anyone else listen to Jim Cornette's? What is it? Let me see. Anyone else? Anyone remember Scott? No. If the fan, what was it? You said something about Jim Cornette. Let me see if I can find that. WCW's booking was so bad they had the Wall versus Lance Storm on Nitro in what was supposed to be the Wall's specialty match, a tables match. Oh, yeah, thank you, androgynous buttocks. But yeah, I remember that actually. I hated the Wall. He was such a boring fucking character. He was his entire existence. He was literally just a really big guy called the Wall who no one could actually fight. That was it. I think the only person who actually beat him a few times was, I believe, Scott Steiner. I think that's it, but I'm not even sure. He had 2 abdominal surgeries and basically left him vulnerable to body shots. Okay, there we go. That's why that's why Brock Lesnar stops. Right now, CM Punk is going into MMA. I kind of want him to get his ass kicked, to be honest. Just because, he's kind of an asshole. I mean, I get that he's good at what he does, and I'm not trying to take that from him, but dude, you don't have to be a dick about it. Oh, hey, Coughlin's back. Hello, Coughlin. Let's see. He had, let's see, something about the Freebirds. I'm gonna go check out some of what was said here. Let's see, what was it? Someone said something about the Freebirds. Brock's a veteran and a beast. He's an NCAA heavyweight champion. Yeah, he is. Let's see. Who else is this? I was hoping Ambrose was going to interfere in the Triple H big announcement. It would have been great to have a Shield Mania main event. Cornette then suggested Reigns beats Lesnar clean, and Daniel Bryan is at ringside, stopping Paul Heyman doing something at the end to cost Reigns the match. After that draw, don't book them against each other again, but as tag team partners against other heels. Yeah, alright, let's see. The Wall used to be the bodyguard for a wrestler named Berlin. Not an obvious pun there. Okay. Callens, do you look like I imagine you to look, like a better groomed, more in shape African American version of possibly, yeah, I could probably say that. Yeah, pretty much. I could probably say that. Yeah, I'd say that's probably right, androgynous buttocks. I mean, people say I pretty much sound like Matt, so I might as well be. I imagine I am some mirror universe version of Matt that somehow wandered into his universe by accident. And here I am. Let's see. And I imagine you are androgynous. You are an androgynous pair of buttocks. You could be female buttocks or you could be male buttocks. I don't know. Let's see. Alright, you guys there? Yes. Okay, yes. Apparently we got like some weird technical difficulty shit going on here. Yes, excellent. Okay, where are you? I'm in the hangout. I'm in the hangout, bro. Okay, so Matt, fuck, we're in okay, so apparently we're in two totally different hangouts right now. Coughlin tried to restart it, but the hangout fucked up. Personally, I think there's potential for a final Dudley run, culminating in.
There you go.
Excellent. Here I am. Matt,
I just sat there. I sat there thinking that you had dropped out of the room, and I was talking literally to no one, or which is very similar to talking to Matt. To be honest with you, I don't expect there's no one there listening anyway.
Okay, so Matt apparently had some technical difficulties, so he had to drop. That's why he wasn't saying anything.
Oh, no. Do you know what's funny? Matt wanted to do this. It was like he who wanted to do this on Saturday, and I couldn't because I had more important things to do. I was growing my hair, eating my toenails, doing lots of more important stuff. And then I sort of said, do you want to do Wednesday? And he drops out, And he's never going to make it in this business. I mean, this is why. This is why he's unreliable. And,
hey, Shredder had an interesting idea. Personally, I think there's potential for a final Dudley run, culminating with Bubba, Devon, and Spike against the Wyatt family.
What I would do? I would put the Dudleys in a proper campaign and have a big sort of violent tables match with the Ascension, because it's the only way I can see for them to get the Ascension over as one of these, because they want to have the Ascension as these people who are claiming they're better than everyone else, which is easy because most of the people they claim they're better than are dead. But if you have them with the Dudleys match and they beat the Dudleys in a tables match, it's a proper match. It's not squash. It's not a.
They'd have to bring back. What's the little girl's name? Little girl. I'm sorry, that was sexist. What's the girl's name? Spike.
Oh, Stacy Keibler. Stacy Keibler.
That was Stacy Keibler?
Yeah, Stacy Keibler was the girl who hung around with them for no discernible reason. I
thought they had a female. I thought they had like a female Dudley.
I don't know.
What's her name?
They had about 38 Dudleys, and there was Big Dick Dudley. There was Sign Guy Dudley, Midget Porn Dudley, French Cabaret Chanteuse Dudley. It was. Then there was that guy who had the neck brace, who did the sort of introductions to this. That was really funny.
The Dudley brothers. Spike, Snot Dudley. There was Big Dick Dudley. Holy shit! There's a lot of Dudley.
He's dead. Big Dick Dudley. Big Dick Dudley's dad's dog's dead.
Let me see.
Joel Gertner, that was it. Joel Gertner was the guy who.
Chubby Dudley, Bubba Ray Dudley, Sign Guy Dudley, Little Spike Dudley, Devon Dudley, Dances with Dudley, Bubba Ray Dudley, Snot Dudley.
Just as a little sort of fuck you to TNA, they should repackage Bubba as Billy Ray Cyrus Dudley.
Stacy Keibler, the Duchess of Dudleyville.
Yes, the girl who was too hot to be hanging around with the Dudley Boy gimmick, because it's like, no, not this bunch of. Why would a woman hang around with a load of guys who get turned on by putting women through tables? That makes literally no sense whatsoever.
I remember like they had that long-running feud between he and what's her fucking name, Dixie, and he's like, and basically the whole gimmick was. No, Dixie fears no one, but then Dudley's like, Dixie fears tables.
Dixie hears no one. It should have been the case, because everyone was saying, Dixie, fuck off. We're only cheering because we actually literally wish Billy Ray was actually hitting you now.
I'm fucking stupid. I'm thinking of Molly Holly. I thought Molly Holly was the fucking Dudleys for some reason.
The one, the remaining Holly.
All right, I think because Crash is dead, and his older brother is like what?
I wonder
God,
when they found out that Crash Holly died in a crash. Do you think Val Venus thought, brilliant? If this is the way wrestlers die, then I'm going to have so much fun. You know,
I'm going to die getting.
he should have been called massive porn star orgy at the Playboy Mansion on Coke Holly, or something like that. You know,
like Val Venus is going to die via snoo snoo.
Yeah. Being blown by Mila Kunis live on TV, Holly. That's my wrestling name. Yeah.
Let's see, Crash, and I had no idea who the fuck Big Dick Dudley was. Was that before the WWE? I'm guessing
that was ECW. Yeah, I mean ECW. There was like 7 or 8 Dudley boys. They sort of NWO'd it a bit, you know, but. Devon and Bubba, and also, you know, if you want to see some of the best ever actual real heel promos from Bubba Ray, you go to ECW, because he said things that would be you would get a TV show shut down to some of the people, and it was hilarious. Just he's going, we got some faggot in a Hawaiian shirt down here. This mom taught her 12-year-old daughter to suck my dick, and we're gonna fuck. And he would go down there. And then he'd go down there and start spitting on the fans, and they'd start fucking. They had to get security guards in. I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. Right, that's what you want.
Holy shit!
Yeah. There's that woman who tried to put a knife on Jake the Snake as if he'd feel it, as if he would feel anything. That's what you want, you know.
Oh yeah, I'd totally be down for that.
That's the thing that's died, is those real heels who just will do anything who are fearless in what they're doing. But it's difficult. You know, Edge was like that. Edge didn't want a T-shirt. He was like, he said, I don't want any merchandise because I'm supposed to be a heel. People are not supposed to like me, so don't make me any merchandise. You know, but I miss Edge. He was great.
I remember the promo, my favorite promo of all time, and it's from fucking Randy. When Randy was fighting Daniel Bryan, and then a fan said, ring the bell, and then he said, ring the bell!
There's no bell! It's a street fight! You can't ring the bell! And then he starts going, what's this?
There's no bell to ring!
And then he gets the bell and goes, go on, ring the bell! Ring the bell! That's what you want. That's what you want Randy Orton to be. You want him to be a real horrid, nasty twat. It's like when Jericho was. Do you remember that classic clip with Jericho? Where they go back to Manitoba. He goes, I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot. And he goes,
that was amazing.
But it was done like in a way that you wouldn't have heard it normally. But it's the fact that that's a little touch there that he didn't know anyone was going to hear that. But it's like that's what a heel should be. It should be like. I love when Daniel Bryan was like the heel and he was just started doing no, and he would just go up to these fans who were doing yes, and he'd get no, yes, no, yes, and he'd shout in their face for about a minute, you know, going crazy. It was so funny to watch.
Like that, I think I was reading the comment section of that, and they were like, Randy got shit for it or something, and he was reprimanded for yelling.
Well, that's stupid. Well, that's because, you know, apparently they want Randy Orton to be. You know, Vince McMahon, I think, genuinely hates the wrestling fans. I think he's decided he's going to be. He's become like he's condelled. He hates everything now, so he's gonna give everyone shit until he finally dies. Which condelled. You know, and given how much he took after himself, how fit and healthy he is, he's gonna go on for about another 40 years. You know, Triple H will probably hang himself. Depression.
I imagined like one day like Vince McMahon is gonna come to the ring dressed in like that boring ass white dress shirt that Connell always wears with a pair of glasses.
We've taken Sami Zayn and we've turned him into a blackface old Al Jolson character. Come down. Who gets a giant black rubber cock out of his trousers and swings it around to the tune of
I imagine he'll then just begin reading off like his issues with the Muslims and when he sees the Muslim threat.
Welcome, you know, Kevin Owens repackaged as Doink the Pedo Clown, and then bring him out.
That's fucking amazing. Yeah.
They're apparently talking about a Mighty Mouse style gimmick for Adrian Neville. It's like brilliant. What a fantastic idea! Let's just while we're at it, let's get Justin Bieber to recover the White Album by the Beatles just while we're on the topic of ruining the thing.
I'm guessing by Mighty Mouse thing they want him to have like a sort of underdog-esque type of gimmick. I don't.
Make him an underdog. He's small. You don't need to have him as a superhero Hurricane gimmick. The Hurricane versus The Rock was the only thing he ever did that was worth watching. You know, that was a 2-week feud. The Hurricane won. You know, which I think is pretty cool. But
like the Hurricane was such a weird concept for a character.
Well, he was so off his tits on drugs because he hung around with the Hardy. I think that's probably what he just acted naturally, and they put the cameras on him, and that's how he turned up one day in a superhero costume.
Hide and right.
Yeah, high as a frigging bastard kite. Believing he's probably on PCP, and they thought it's like Nicolas Cage. He's not acting; they're just filming him in his everyday life and building a film around him. You know,
I am curious as to what happened to Hide and Rape anyway. Did he quit?
I don't know. He was a little bit. There was something too gay rapey about him, like the Michael Cole sort of rape simulation clip. You know, which is it's a group of words you should never have to put together and say as an historical event.
Michael Cole was Hide and Rape threatened to rape Michael Cole.
I think that's why he got fat, so his big fat ass would shield him from the feeling of the man's genitals in the tight lycra pants pushing against a wall. And then you had him and Snitsky at the same time. Snitsky was again a character who could have been good if it weren't for the fact that they made him too demented. You know, like a guy who likes making fun of a woman who had a miscarriage because he chokeslammed her off the stage.
Holy shit!
And they had him bring out a toy baby and punt kick it, and then they had him he had this foot fetish as well. It's like, look, just why don't you just have him say he's into barnyard animal porn and having sexually interfering with all the midget wrestlers or something. It's ridiculous. Like it's just too much. It's like the Katie Vick thing. It's like someone needed to say, Vince, no. Right. I will punch you. We will restrain you physically if you allow this storyline to go ahead.
It reminds me of what they're doing of what they were doing in TNA with this one guy. What was his fucking name? He was some sort of stalker who kept stalking the ring announcer. Yeah. And he wore like black gloves, and apparently at the end of the storyline, he was committed to an asylum.
And his name was O.J. Simpson McDonagall III or something. But the thing is, at least with that, it was in TNA, so no one will ever remember or know about it if they ever want to do it, because only 12 people saw it happen. That was.
It was sad because, like, unfortunately, we probably made up a majority of the fucking audience.
The only thing that I think is brilliant that came out of the Katie Vick thing was the fact that there's a brilliant interview with Triple H where he's talking about the fact that was a real funeral home. They filmed that in when Triple H had the K-mask on with the body in the body. And apparently there was an actual funeral going on in the next room, and Vince was there going, "Yeah, go on, give it to her now, go on, yeah." And the bloke doing the service had to pop in the room and go, "Could you keep it down, please?" And I'm like, can you imagine being that's your dad's funeral, and all you can hear is Vince going, "Yeah, screw her, yeah, give it to her now, go on." And like as he directs this guy in a skin-coloured thong and a mask, having sex with a mannequin in a coffin in a cheerleader outfit for the purposes of a wrestling storyline that went absolutely nowhere. Even wrestling's thought, this is stupid. I can believe a man shoots lightning out of his fucking fingers, but I'm not buying this. This is ridiculous. The idea that Kane had a girlfriend, this is a ludicrous story.
Oh my god! Like, what was it? Tori Wilson, right?
Yeah, she was quite. No, that was Tori Wilson. Yeah, was originally with Kate, and then she dumped him for X. But that's such a kill your self-esteem. I'd kill myself if one of my exes dumped me for X-Pac.
Yeah, I would. Like, I could not live with the idea that someone
a guy who literally got where he was because he knew Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Triple H, and you wouldn't book him in a one-person room with one chair in a ring against an invisible man. He was.
I think the only thing he was known for when he was the 1-2-3 kid was the fact that and the fact that at one point in time he had a diaper put on him by like Kevin Nash.
I mean, people say that Daniel Bryan is small. I'm sorry, X-Pac was borderline. He was borderline ill. He was anemic. He looks like he had a tapeworm farm growing. I was thick. I've got bigger legs than X-Pac.
Wasn't he in a tag team with Kane for a while?
He was the leader of one of the worst stables of the last 15 years it was called X Factor, with him, Just Incredible, and I can't even remember the third bloke. That's how bad it was.
Oh my god, I remember Just Incredible.
The only thing I remember about Just Incredible was Kurt Angle making me piss myself when he went, "Hey, Justin, have you ever noticed your name is Just Incredible? That's cool, man." And he walks off, and that was the only time I ever enjoyed anything Just Incredible did. Was Kurt Angle playing the goofy idiot who just knows that his name.
Oh my god! I loved Kurt Angle because he was a rare heel in that he was like the goofy idiot heel. Yeah. Who was like an actual threat, and I love that about him.
He was very good at being the goofy idiot, and then in the ring you believed he could beat people, and that was the great thing. I mean, when he debuted, you thought that they were setting him up to be a face, and then he got booed on his first match, and he just grabs the mic and says, "You do not boo an Olympic gold medalist. You do not." And then he just went in there, and then people just hated him and he immediately became the obnoxious guy who cried every time he won. And then when he had his head shaved, and he had for like 2 months he had like a wrestling sort of headgear on with a wig on it, and then 2 months later he comes out and goes, "I got a confession to make. I'm bald." It's like it's been 2 months. My hair's not growing back, people. I'm not gonna do. This is a wig. And it's like, that's fantastic.
God. Kurt Angle was such an amazing heel because of that. He reminded me of what I wanted R-Truth to become, sort of like that, where R-Truth is a clear heel, but he's just so insanely goofy.
They went too far with him when they had him basically have an invisible friend who started doing moves in the ring. That was the point when people lost interest in R-Truth. Is like he can have an imaginary friend at a push, but not one that interferes in his matches. Right? They
conspire at the conspiracy table. I love that.
The thing is, I liked it. It was brilliant when he turned heel. I actually thought, there could be something here, because he lit a cigarette. It was in England, and he lit a cigarette in the building, and you can't smoke obviously in buildings. You can't smoke. Smoking's banned in enclosed public buildings, and the crowd's chanting, "That's illegal! That's illegal!" And he's smoking this. He's got this big cigarette he's puffing on. And he's going mad with his yellow fucking hepatitis-ridden eyes, and he's beating John Morrison up. And John Morrison was just a guy who, if he had 1 ounce of personality, he would have done him so many favors. He's the Marty Jannetty of
Right. And that's the only time I can remember R-Truth having a person. And the thing was, he wasn't even unpopular even before he became a face. Before he became a heel, he was actually fairly popular.
He did have a sort of 6-month run where he was always sort of featured in something prominent, like he being an Elimination Chamber, and don't forget, R-Truth and The Miz headlined Survivor Series in a tag match once against The Rock and Cena. A match I have never watched because I cannot waste my fucking life. I mean, think about that. Poor old John Morrison's got to live with the fact he was in a tag team with The Miz, and he was the Marty Jannetty of those two. The Miz went on to headline WrestleMania and never beat. No one ever cared. No one cares that he was even there. Bless him.
Somebody randomly is like, talk about beach as if this is like the topic.
No, we're not talking about beach. We're talking about wrestling, and I'm not going to bring any drama onto one of my YouTube channels, and certainly not a drama that I'm not involved in. Right? If you want to ask me about Thunderfoot, just go ahead, right? Because I get asked about it every other time I do a live show. So I'm particularly at the moment with this fucking shit that's going on. Thunderfoot denies the Holocaust. Not any of that. I think he masturbates over old documentaries about it. I don't care.
I have this image in my head of Hitler, of Thunderfoot dressed as Hitler. Just
Thundercock. That's a Freudian slip right there, mate.
Thunderfoot dressed as Hitler, like masturbating to Schindler's List for some reason.
He's got the amount of blood he needs to pump around that neck and head of his. I'm amazed he's even got any feeling from the waist down. But look, fuck him, right? Do I care that he might lose his job? No, I don't care if he loses his job. I don't care if he gets homeless. He's sucking dick for $30 just to buy a cheeseburger. I don't care what happens to him other than as a foil. Other than a foil for me to mock, just to wind him up. That's it. That's all he is.
It would be amazing if he just if it was 10 years in the future and he just walked past you and he was homeless and shit and he's like, "Hey man, I suck your dick for some cheeseburgers, man."
And I'll be like, "Thunderfoot, I'll give you more than a cheeseburger. I'll give you the ingredients to make it, right? With no actual ability for you to. I'll give you the meat, the bun, the bread. I'll give you the flour, the yeast. I'll give you the seeds, everything in there. But you've got to find your own form of oven to cook it in, right? And in return for that, yes, you must do it. And I'm going to record the whole thing, put it on YouPorn, and not even YouPorn. I'm going to upload it on YouTube, and I will proudly admit that that's me. If I had the money, I would hire an Arabic actor to dress as a Muslim with a rucksack filled with wires and a clock to follow him round everywhere he went for 8 hours a day. That's what I would do,
Holy shit. That would be fucking amazing.
Or I'd say, Thunderfoot, I'll give you $5 million, but you have to give me your YouTube account password and give me permission to use it for an hour, and you can never tell anyone I've got your channel, and whatever happens, you have to take responsibility for. And you've got to sign a contract, legally binding, you get $5 million in Phenobian wooden dollars, which will be
Phenobian wooden dollars.
Which will be written in white ink, so you can't see it. It's right there, Phenobian wooden dollars.
But he'd be so fucked up. He'd be like, "I'll do it. Just give me."
I'm giving you $5 million in out of circulation Chinese currency.
Out of circulation Chinese.
5 million doubloons, right? Counterfeit doubloons.
You also have to dress up like a pirate and sing like a little sea tune, like yo ho ho.
I think that should that's going to happen when some rich fucker who doesn't give a shit about the internet comes on it and realizes how much people here will do stuff just for money. Regardless of without any shame or ethics, the things people will do just to get attention. They will have the time of their life. If I was a billionaire, if I was the Koch brothers, I'd be on YouTube constantly, contacting them. I'll give you $5 million, but you've got to make a video saying this. You've got to do this, and I'll give you this amount of money.
I will give you this much money if
you have to give a shout out to David Duke and speak about how brilliant and insightful he is for 10 minutes, and I'll give you $1 million.
And must also sing while also singing the praises of Al Sharpton and how he was right.
Yeah. I'll give you $10 million, TJ, if you DMCA every video Thunderfoot has got, and then admit to it in a video.
He would totally do that shit for $10 million. Hell yeah.
And even I'll get Venom Fang X. Venom Fang X has got to be the one who exposes you on Skype having a conversation that's scripted of you admitting to him, because you're actually going to say that you've been a creationist this whole time. Whose goal it was to make atheists look like ignorant, stupid bastards who have absolutely no morals or ethics.
He would totally do that. It would destroy his reputation. Yeah, he'd totally do that. He's like, fuck it, I'll do what I gotta do.
He filmed himself deep frying his nuts at the behest of a fat ginger German dominatrix on Skype, and he did that for free, right? If that's what he's willing to do, just for a laugh, then Christ, there must be, we must have the pick of anything,
From what I understand, TJ has an insane submissive fetish. That's why he's willing to.
Well, that explains why he's so sort of compensatory by sort of being an exploitive victimizer on the internet.
I remember once he said that it's impossible for him to be aggressive because he's a submissive, and it's not possible for submissives.
It's also
to be
because he
aggressive.
can't run very fast. If anyone sort of has a, if anyone sort of like winds him up that point to he's going to hit them, he can't catch them unless it's downhill, right?
I imagine he would just kind of flail about. I DMC all of my own videos for $10 million.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good enough argument for me to support the installation of a fascist feminazi gynocracy, purely on the basis that if that does happen, I'm going to be sort of breeding stag material, and he will be I won't say castrated, that'd be kind of redundant, but I mean he will be basically used as he'll be used as some kind of to carry women around on thrones on his back and whilst being beaten.
That's just like some woman in a thong is just like whipping him.
You have to give Nuclear Knight a piggyback everywhere, right? Mark Henry shit himself as a fucking. You have to give Nuclear Knight a piggyback everywhere she goes. You're the Sisyphus you're the Sisyphus to the feminazis. You have to have Nuclear Knight on your back, walking up a never-ending hill for eternity as punishment for being a prat. I think I've lost it again.
Yeah.
But that'd be great. This is why, again, with the Muslims, I'm all in favour of the Islamics taking over, because I've done enough to justify not getting my head chopped off. And that's why I got the beard.
Besides, if I imagine one day a Muslim world wouldn't be so bad. We'd get to walk around with like babies as condoms and shit whenever we got really hard.
And also, I'm playing both sides because the beard also allows me to sort of, in case the anti-Semites are right and the Jews are actually running everything, then I can just jump right in, put a hat on, I'm fine. Just got to grow me curly sideburns out and have a Triple H-ectomy on my nose.
And just spit while you're talking.
Yeah, and just go and make food out of really disgusting, bland, horrid materials and invent a cuisine no one would ever influence nothing because it tastes vile.
He goes, all right, I remember apologetics.
Yes, oh yes, one of TJ's great conquests, a 15-year-old girl, right? Along with her friend 2 Rocker for You, who again, a 15-year-old. Who had like 60 subscribers and the IQ of a fucking McVitie's digestive biscuit, who shut her account down because TJ pwned her so hard. Nothing to do with his fanboys running over there and probably threatening to rape her for a laugh because that's banter, or whatever.
What is this? 2 Rocker. Make him get dominated. Let me see. I wonder how long it takes in minutes for TJ to turn around 360 degrees.
I don't know. Well, I mean, the thing is, everything else is going to be interfered with the pull that his these vibrations created.
I don't know. This was a discussion about wrestling, and then it just kind of went somewhere else.
YouTube drama and wrestling are basically the same. It's a load of idiots who are cartoonish fools shouting at each other, acting, claiming victory. And the only problem with YouTube is there's no fight at the end to determine who's the better man. I think we should have one for charity. We should organise an actual night of, real YouTubers having actual fights with each other to settle old scores,
I would love to see Hannibal and Sargon of Akkad just fight each other, because Sargon is like a weird, bizarre world version of Hannibal anyway.
Problem with Sargon is he's not very good at dealing. He's not very good unless he's got. You have to have a stable of 500 people who he just points at them and they all invade and beat someone up, because that's literally all he ever does. Is he just makes. He sort of points out videos that have criticised him and then tells people to go over there and thumb it down which is because that's the best weapon they've come up with so far. Men's rights activists is to thumb down YouTube videos, and it's had a devastating effect on absolutely nothing so far. But I think if they keep going, they will eventually
Eventually, we will succeed in whatever it is we're attempting to do.
It should be ironic that 100 years ago, women were fighting for the right to have, to be given the opportunity to be more than just forced to stay in the house. And 100 years later, men's rights activists are struggling to even make the decision to get out of the house, which they already have the right to do. They can't even get off certain websites. Their civil rights is defended through Reddit and trolling and calling people manginas. I don't think that's going to get you very far. Yeah.
One day, I have a dream that AVFM...
Imagine Martin Luther King having a YouTube channel and going out.
I have a dream.
I'm not going to go out. I'm just going to make a video about it and bitch and whine, because if back then he would have just got trolled by all of the Klan, because they're all... let's face it, the white supremacists are pretty much all here. All of the really hardcore ones who actually believe this nonsense. The rest of them, if you want an actual career in politics, you have to hide your racism under thinly veiled language and subtle innuendo.
Like, or join Stormfront and become a Stormfront activist.
Yeah, I mean, you got that Chuck C. Johnson bloke, that ginger gonk-faced fucking gnome who's somehow come, and he was tweeting anti-racist code for anti-white. I'm like, no, it's not, Chuck. Your ginger is the problem. That's why we hate you. It's got nothing to do with you being white, because you're ginger and you're a cunt. And being a ginger cunt is just, it's taking it too far. Yeah, it's like being a paedophile and a Holocaust denier. You're going too far, right? One is enough. You don't have to be both.
Like you can only choose one of these options.
I mean, why would you look like that? Have a face like an anus, and then have ginger hair, grow it out long with a beard, and then be a complete cunt who no one likes anyway?
Like,
what's the waste of time?
I'd love to see J-Dubs and Rob fight. Like, that's what somebody said.
I'd like to see J-Dubs move more than 10 yards without collapsing.
I imagine J-Dubs' way of moving is just rolling, so he just sort of lay down and just sort of push himself off and just sort of roll into you.
I'd just like to see him locked in a room with no windows or doors for the end of time, but just a camera filming it, and we can watch him slowly starve to death and see... as an experiment,
like little chihuahua thing.
As both an experiment and a laugh, and and the only way he can be freed is if Brett Keane gets off the sofa at the end of the other room and walks 350 yards and puts $20 in a machine. If he can Brett Keane actually do that? Brett Keane has to write one line of words that are actually original and that he thought of. He has to come up with something that's original and unique. Even if it's shit, I don't mind. Kalens. I think I've lost. I've got it again. Hello. Hello. Right. Apparently, Kalens is gone. Oh well, folks. Don't worry. I actually can't see the comments. Not that that's a bad thing on YouTube. I mean, this is YouTube. The comments the comments should never ever be viewed by anyone. Right. So in wrestling terms, yes, okay. If that should be one thing that you do if you have a ability, is just buy TNA. You know, it should only cost you $100. No, maybe 150, just to sort of, you know, make sure, just to get rid of everyone forever, and then, you know, you can finally write your own storylines that you want to happen. Left the group. I am on my own. Oh, folks, finally, you know, this is how the world should be. Just me sat here talking, with no one to waste my time disagreeing or questioning anything. You know, it's, you know, it's not. It's just it would, you know, the amount of effort I have wasted on trying to explain to people that they're wrong, for them to continue to fucking attempt to, you know, to disagree or dispute that, and then ultimately I'm proven right. Yeah. Kofladamas, I'm going to start calling myself. Let me see if I can find the comments of this video, which I'm not sure this is a good idea, but I'll try. Let's go. Oh, I found it. I found the link. There you go. I am Flight of the Navigator. Right. So let's have a look here. Come on. This computer is struggling with 2 windows in the browser. In all fairness, that's what you get when you pay £16.50 for a 5th-hand computer. It's powered by diesel. Right, here we go. It's about as effective as Kevin Nash as well. So let's have a look here. Comments. We've got 2 thumbs down. That's nowhere near enough. I'm sorry. I resent the fact that there are twice as many people here who like this. This makes me doubt my own views here. Unless you're down thumbing it because of everyone else. Yeah, here we go. I like to make fan fictions of China. You're a sick man, Gottrellam. People like you should not be allowed near animals, children, or anything with a hole in it. Or, you know, by that I mean any sleeping grandparents' dead bodies. You know, it's just wrong. The fucking Stormfront. Yeah. Oh God! If you want a funny video, there is a video somewhere of Brett Keane, you know, justifying or sitting there supporting the terrorists of the Charlie Hebdo attack, claiming that it's about time someone took out the trash. You know, as in people who are blasphemous and who are apparently atheists, which I didn't realize. You know, I didn't realize that. So apparently, what Brett Keane is saying is that, you know, he supports terrorism and murdering people who offend religious sensibilities, but he can't be asked to get up and do it himself. You know, which you know, I'm sure if you were close enough to him and he had a gun or a bazooka or something, then that'd be great. Then he could probably do it. You know, if he had a long enough spear. Full retarded. I'm excited, but I'm not surprised. You're excited, full retarded. Sounds like a good action film, that. Full retard. This time, it's genetic. Oh, this time it's, I don't know. Full frontal lobotomy 6. I'm excited, but I'm not surprised. That sounds really depressing. The fact that you're not surprised at the fact you're excited, isn't that saying, you know, I'm really, you know, unaroused at the fact that I've got an erection? Isn't that the kind of what it sounds like to me. What other comments we got here? I wonder how long it would take for TJ to turn 360 degrees. You just have to have a camera on him and tell him that, you know, there's, if he does it, you know, there's money in it that will be, you know, misappropriated, and there will be exploitation, you know, that will take place as a result of it. I'm sure he'd be well up for it then. Yeah. Crash Holly died of an overdose of muscle relaxant. Well, I mean, at least he was, at least he wasn't stressed. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty relaxed, isn't it? I mean, that must have been some good. They must have been bloody good drugs. I mean, if you're so relaxed, you stop living. He died in Stevie Richards' house. Man, that should never happen. Yeah, that's a phrase that shouldn't happen unless you're a sort of, you're a you know, sort of Eastern European prostitute who's been forced there, you know, against her will, you know, or a child in his freezer. You know, I don't remember Snot Dudley. That's Snot Dudley. That sounds like a really bad. I can imagine WWE doing something really awful. You live a sad, lonely existence. Well, of course you do, Gatrillin. You're on the internet a lot. This is the one requirement for us to end up here for any more than, if you spend, you know, more than a third of your conscious life on the internet, it's because your abilities to interact in the real world have ceased to ever be. Then they're not there. You will never ever be able to deal with human beings unless, of course, you have the power to block them, ignore them, delete everything they say, or even remove them from existence. You know, the worst place to be a sex slave is. I don't think being a sex slave is necessarily a good thing anywhere, unless, of course, it's, you know, I mean, the Playboy Mansion as a sort of stunt cock for Hefner would be pretty good. In fact, stunt cock is my dream job. You know, if I could pick a job right now that I would have, and I think I could be good at, it would be stunt cock. You know, I mean, obviously we'd need some kind of, you know, special effects to make me proportional to the average male porn star, but I don't mind having my penis, you know, reduced in size by 75% just to make everyone else feel better. Yeah. In fact, I think the dodgiest people on the internet are the ones who have no, you know, obvious or apparent reason to be here. You know, like theoretical bullshit. You know, I mean, he's well read. He's articulate. He's good looking. You know, he's successful and talented. You know, he's on television. You know, it's like, what are you doing here? Why the fuck are you even? Why you have no right to be here? This is not for you. People like you are supposed to be out there. You know, isn't it bad enough that you're taking away? You're coming over here and forcing us to deal with your attractiveness. Being a sex slave for Galen. See, I don't think Galen's very much a eunuch type character. You know, he's got that sort of action man, round mold sort of feel about him. And he's one of those people who he looks like he smells as bad. He looks like he smells as bad as he appears. You know. No, Hefner. No, I'm not saying you'd sit. I'm not going to sit on Hefner. I wouldn't have to sort of like be attached to Hefner, as in some kind of. I don't mean like that. I mean like, you know, because Hefner's getting on a bit, and there isn't enough Viagra in the world to give Hefner, you know, the oomph he needs, because he's not got any blood left in him. That, you know, he can sit there and, you know, just he can sit there and go and have a kip and fill up his colostomy bag and watch Judge Judy like all other people his age, and the 7 women who he has selected to be his wives that week can be taken care of and served by a very specifically selected human. Galen has no balls. I don't think Galen has much. Galen has too much bone in his head to cut. You know, he looks like his skull is too big for his skin. He could look normal if his skeleton wasn't so misshapen and wobbly. Yeah, it looks like, it just doesn't look. It looks like someone stretched the rest over, which is why his eyes have this look about them that he's going to kill and eat you. and then poo you out, then eat the poo, then poo you out again, then mold the poo into the shape of your buttocks, and then interfere with it. Big hairy Eastern European men, or big black dick African men. You've got to think about the variance. Well, I don't know about you, but I think the Eastern European, big hairy Eastern European men sound more appealing because they're probably, purely because of some inherent innate racism in me, that the fear of a big giant African man is going to naturally stir up stereotypes that will leave me feeling uncomfortable and very, very, very worried about my abilities to run for a bus, sit down, or even be comfortable ever again. Pat Condell's sex life is, Jesus Christ, there are fucking woodland nymphs that reproduce asexually, that are engaging in more, that are more promiscuous and have a more diverse sex life than Pat Condell. Do you think Pat Condell, does he come across as a man who sexually has a lot going on, or who has any sort of excitement or joy in his life? To me, he strikes me as a man who hasn't seen a vagina. Last time we saw a vagina, it was through a peep show, or one of those little old black and white films. It was back when pubic hair was, the 1970s Jackson Afro was the sort of look. Yeah, but again, Brett King he would have to stand up, and you'd have to sort of get a car jack to lift his belly up. He would have to have blood flow, somewhere. There'd have to be something in it for him. There'd have to be some kind of dishonesty or underhandedness in order for it to take place. Too much effort for him. Martin J. Willett was right all along. Well, that I do actually think that would be quite funny. In all fairness, if it turned out Willett was right, because that means I am literally insane if that's the case, and I can't argue that. You're wrong, but only if I'm completely wrong in the worst possible way. Like, I don't mind religion. If it turns out if there's one religion that I can accept being right, it's the Westboro Baptist Church. I hope that's the one, because in that case, only 80 people get saved, and the rest of us are all just as stupid as each other. Brown people being killed, but in all fairness, that's a bit too easy. In fact, I reckon it's the opposite. I reckon he actually watches ISIS beheading videos and gets turned on. Like the way someone who's anti-gay is always caught blowing a truck driver in a bush on the side of a motorway. I think he's more turned on by that sort of stuff. He'd love to watch some poor prison, someone who ISIS have kidnapped and then whose head they cut off using a spoon for 4 hours, and or a gay man they set on fire. That's the kind of thing. And fair play to him. He's got a lot going on at the moment. I imagine Pat Condell will be like the villain. I haven't seen that film, and I'm never going to watch it. Who's the villain from The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo? What's some miserable old pensioner who sits there and spouts a load of meaningless diatribe once a month for 5 minutes and profits from the anger and hatred in the souls of men? Jihadi terrorists. I think terrorist is enough. I mean, jihadi terrorist is it sounds like you're padding out your name, trying to make yourself sound more important. I have a big enough problem with ISIS purely on their name. I think it's too many ISs. I mean, Islamists, the Islamic Islamists, fundamentalist Islamist Muslims from the Islamic State of ISIS. It's like, your alliteration is really is a tough sell. Piers Morgan. I mean, I can't even begin to describe the kind of things that man finds exciting or is turned on by. In fact, I don't want to know. I don't think he exists. He's just such a horrid, vile human being. Imagine being an Islamic State member, a member of the ISIS, and you've got a lisp. Imagine how difficult your life is every day to get through every day just talking to people and being a Muslim with a lisp, or a Muslim who can't, who's got some who's got a big tongue and he has trouble with. I mean, it must be a nightmare. They cut it down at ISIS, but that still doesn't work, because you realise ISIS is going to become ultimately a separate denomination. So you're going to have ISISism, or isism. You can't have an isism. You can't have ISIS. The Islamic fundamental. They're taking the piss. They're taking the pisces. He's saying, and he has people who, even if they don't believe a lot of what he says, they try to defend him. By saying, because he says some things that they think are. Hold on. There's Miley Cyrus tits for comfort. Well, Miley, I do have a crush on Miley. Mainly because I'm allowed to, because I'm 35 now, and so I'm allowed to. She's my. I don't care what anyone says about her. I would. I'm still not sure whether she and Justin Bieber are actually two different people. If anything, Bieber is more like a female version of her. But I would happily get locked in a cabin for a weekend with her and fucking annihilate her. And she'd be happy, and I wouldn't even need to sort of lie or use any underhanded, dishonest tactics. Well, I should be back. Wrecking Ball is a great song, and the only reason people hate it or say they do is because she's singing it. Right? Fact. Right? Literal fact. Right? If Bob Marley had done Wrecking Ball, everyone would go on about how brilliant it is. Or if Lennon and McCartney had written it, they'd talk about how people would love it. They would wet their little knickers over it. Yeah. I've never heard another one of her songs. I personally couldn't give a toss, but I would smash the granny out of her. You know, and last time, with all fairness, you know, I do fart quite a lot in my videos, but to be in my defence, you know, my farts are always timed perfectly. Like, I've never farted in the middle of a sentence. My anus knows when it's time to go. That's how masterful I am at comedy. I have managed to get even my sphincter has timing that Jackie Mason, you know, would dream of. It's not your kind of music. What? Your kind of music? What is your kind of music? What? Some kind of weird jazz that sounds like a blues quartet falling down a flight of stairs, you know, or some hideous, Scandinavian death metal, or hip hop. Well, I mean, I do want to have another hook suspension at some point, and I actually want to do the full wrecking ball. Right? I actually want to go to the full extreme of not just swinging, but having a woman sit on my head with a sledgehammer in her tidy whities on my shoulders as I swing. And I want the biggest swing possible. I want to be swung right across the room, you know, over some lava, you know, during the Queen's speech or something. Well, Bill Hicks, in all fairness, you know, he wrote the cricket chirps in. I don't know I'm about to fart. That's what happens when you get into your 30s. Is your farts become unpredictable. You don't know. Most of my farts happen, and I'm shocked by them. I don't know whether I've done them or not. You know, and you know, it's fun at times. On your own, it's okay, but you have to be careful when you're in public, unless, of course, you're on a bus, in which case no one notices. Talk about beach. No. And you can keep asking me and I won't. Not death metal, no. Well, of course not. You know, or grindcore or horrorcore or black metal. It just sounds like hell. It's musical hell. It's rubbish. You know, I don't care what anyone says. It sounds like a load of bloody. There's nothing engaging or appealing about it. It's like listening to Sarah Palin read Dostoevsky. I have no. It's vapid and devoid of any kind of real connection. I don't know how. I don't want to know someone who relates to that music, because there's something wrong with you. Yeah, you're going to kill people at some point. Make sure you film it. Well, duh, dude. I'm not going to go to the extent of being strung up with hooks in my back and have a woman swing whilst Wrecking Ball is playing, just for my own amusement, just so I remember. Right, there will be cameras on. Country music, no, country music I can enjoy when it's done properly. Garth Brooks isn't country music, in the same way that Nelly is not real rap music, you know, or Green Day are not punk music, you know. Country music, like the old Johnny Cash stuff, that's depressing as hell, and you know, is basically filled with misery and loneliness and alcohol. That's country music. Anyone listening to White House? Are they a band, or do you mean the actual White House, or do you mean Paul Whitehouse, or Mary Whitehouse, or is this a euphemism that I've not picked up on, that the kids are using? Sarah Palin reading anything, quite frankly. I'd like to see Sarah Palin read read Spot the Dog book, you know. Read Nibbly Pig Goes to the Market, anything. She can't even read her own speeches on a teleprompter and remember them. So she can't even remember things in debates without notes on her hand. And I don't want anyone in charge of anything who needs to write notes on their hand when they're, you know, things that are important, because she's the kind of stupid cow who will write down the nuclear codes on a post-it note and then put it on a computer and forget about it. Stop projecting. I'm not projecting. You're projecting, and you're projecting so much that you're projecting your projection onto me. Stop projecting projection. because that's just weird. The Very Hungry Caterpillar. What was that book? What was the book Bush was reading on 9/11? Have a read that in the hope that there's a terrorist attack and we have to see her jump into action. Miss Palin, the country's under attack. Which country? The one you're in. Mary Whitehouse. Oh, Mary Whitehouse was... Well, I mean, the Mary Whitehouse experience was good. She was insane. Yeah, good. I think anything that, that's all you need to do with people like that. Just name a porn mag after them. That's it. Like Hustler with Jerry Falwell. Just print do a story about him banging his mother. There you go. That's all you need to do. Palin's not ready for Nibby Pig. Well, in all fairness, that's because she's... Well, I mean, that's not because... I don't think that's because he necessarily believes that. It's because he's been told not to endorse her, because she's not going to run. Robert Mugabe has more chance of running for president than... And I would rather he was in charge, quite frankly, Who are the other man children? None of them. That's just me. That's just me projecting my misery onto you and my imaginary friends talking for me. My Pet Goat. That was the one. That's a weird book. My Pet... Who has a pet goat? No one. You have a goat that you can kill or milk or interfere with, but you don't have a pet one. Mason. Mason. Why have you written Mason? Why have you written the surname of either a guy who was a leader of a cult and a murderer who exploited women, or Charles Manson? There are people who seriously consider, yes, but these people, people who think like that, they're so inbred that they're twins and yet one person at the same time. These are people whose family tree, is petrified, is a petrified stump, in a vapid desert. They have their genetics have gone. The royal family has got more genetic diversity. Just saw your post listening to Facebook. Thought I'd listen. Not that I give a flying about wrestling, just because I can't get enough of you, Pan. Well, that's because you're only human, Steve. How big are your tits? Then maybe. You do what you want. I can't. I am the bisexual confuser. But you love Coughlin. Look, let's take it as read that you're just the honest people. The rest of them are just lying to themselves. They'll either come round or die miserable or angry. It's the default position. If there's nothing wrong with you, then there's no reason why you shouldn't. If you've got some disability, or you're mentally ill, or you've had your brains removed, then fine. I get it. But other than that, there's no reason for it. I imagine myself cuddling with him and cooking him dinner. Yeah, that'll do for me. Do you want a shotgun wedding? You've just described my eHarmony looking for page. I mean, obviously, Massive Jugs was also there, but I'm willing to be flexible on the jugs. My Russian man ass. Okay, right. Okay, the word man there, is that just happen to be you are a woman with a slight, with who has a male physique, and a cock, or is that a misprint, or am I just going to have I just agreed to marry a Russian man, which again I'm not against personally, because at least I won't have to worry about having a third abortion, which is a bit of a disappointment in one aspect, but overall it's not something I should really be aiming for. Recent stand-ups to YouTube. The Russell brand of Finland is that's on my channel. That's on both my channels. Actually, the Russell brand of Finland's back on my original channel, back on the Dick Dynasty. This is the worst chatterbait ever. Right, by worst, I'm assuming you're being sarcastic. I'm a walking chatterbait. I am chat roulette made anthropomorphized. Have you been watching Annie Mae? I don't know who she is, unless that's some woman you've been stalking. We're looking at through binoculars from a tree. Flash your man tits. No, dude. Do you think? Look, I'm 120 pounds, soaking wet, carrying a donkey. Do you think I've got anything that resembles tits? But Americans, they're scared when they see me because I've got a rib cage that's visible without having to have my chest opened up by a surgeon. You love newbie pecs and boobs, right? Well, I don't have that. I have the opposite of that. Honestly, there are anorexic skeletons that died in Victorian era who have bigger tits than me. Go for the hat trick. See, again, Silver, I don't want to deliberately go for the hat trick. I'm okay with it happening by accident. Well, I'm not okay with it, but I'm saying if it has to happen, I'd rather it was a result of me being irresponsible twat, 3 times on the trot, than me going out there deliberately with the goal and the ambition of getting my third dead child. That's just not. That's something that you want on your obituary. The killer of babies. The one-man Auschwitz. England is fatter than America. Of course we are. The difference is when we're fat, we at least have some dignity. Americans are fat in a way that's just, it's just ridiculous. You shouldn't have documentaries about people because they're fat. That shouldn't exist. There shouldn't be Jerry Springer or Maury Povich specials on someone who's fat. Am I going to release your new stand-up? I'm not going to release the one that was filmed in October because most of it's new. And, whilst there's material there that is good, it's not anywhere near finished already. I'm doing a gig in Manchester tomorrow night that I'm going to film. And to be fair, that's going to be mostly material that has already been uploaded, but I might just upload the whole thing. So I'll actually pay for this one. No, just do it. It'll be on YouTube. Do you think I'm going to limit the amount of audience I can have by charging people? Get a third and called it old Ponage McCaughlin. Your new stand-up is not corrective surgery. No, my stand-up is, it's simply unappreciated in its own time, which is obviously the default argument for anyone who has underachieved at something they believe they should be doing a lot better at. Guarantee, after I'm dead and people, no one cares, then people will realise how good I am. Which is fine, because I don't have to do any work then. I can be like Bill Hicks and just live off 2 hours of material that, and because nobody recorded any of the early stuff. My fear is that I eventually become bitter and resentful and turn into Pat Condell, and he's like the ghost of comedy future. He's what I could become if I stop actually, if I stop being a human being and having and caring about what I do. When I lose all faith in humanity, Lundy's party bottom. My God, that would somehow get a negative percentage of votes. We'd have to actually, people would have to be killed we'd have to resurrect every Holocaust victim and get them done down for voter fraud. You could get every human who's lived going back to the dawn of man, and I don't think you'd be able to get him elected. How about Big Lundy Bottom? That's I will say this about this Total D-Bags channel. It has the worst comments out of all of my channels, and that's saying something, considering I have videos that are full of Condell fans, Thunderfoot fans, Onision fans, and Amazing Atheist fans. It's like the protocols of the elders of twat have unleashed the flying monkeys. Well, not necessarily. I mean, by the time I'm Pat Condell's age, hopefully I'll be dead. But by then there might be a different group who, you know, I can't believe the Muslims are going to milk it for that long. In 30 years' time, come on, there's got to be someone else. Maybe the Jews will come back round. You know, Dusty's stand-up. Well, Dusty doesn't do stand-up. He stands up and he says things, you know, and in his mind, they're brilliant. And maybe to the people who have only ever seen Dusty and no one else ever do anything ever, they are. Or maybe to the 12-year-olds who have to get their permission to go to see him. You know. I could end up like Stuart Lee, but, you know, in all fairness, you know, my style is a tad too much abrasive for that. I'd have to actually stop swearing. You know, I don't think that's going to change. I think my unpleasantness, the unpleasant language is going to be the same. Semi-serious note, I have been following YouTube for 3 years. Right, well, you missed the first 4, which, in all fairness, was when I was good. I mean, I've let myself go. I've gone downhill. Right? And sadly, I'm still better than 99% of everything else on here. And I think you are a genuine comic genius. Right, well, obviously, can you know, do me a favor? Can you set up some magazine or become an influential journalist of some kind? Or maybe, if you know, do anything, do something that's gonna, because the problem is lots of people have that opinion. You know, the trouble is most of them express it by writing it on the walls of a padded cell in shit. And so-called experts who, you know, are comedy, you know, aficionados who know what they're talking about, you know, are mixed, you know, have conflicted opinions. They got you through the dark times. Well, I'm glad that's over. Yeah, it's because yeah, my dark times I got through cost me a fortune and nearly killed me. So it's nice to know I'm being. It's nice to know I'm substituted. I'm a substitution for other people's. Where most people would use crack or prostitution, which is probably more fun overall, but. Whatever gets you through the day, I'll do your best. Right, well, that's not going to work. You know, you need to do less. You need to do as little as possible and somehow still succeed. That's the measure of a genius. People who do, you know, who don't even try and somehow. That's. Speaking about the elders of twat, surely you've accumulated enough. Actually, I haven't. Although I did get an email the other day that I'll read. From someone who goes by the name, who I don't know if they set this account up, but it's a Gmail account that is EDL Warrior 123. Now, if you think social justice warrior is a stupid term, and it is, right? It's a Tumblr account. It's not a sword, right? You are not fighting off the Persian hordes. Right? EDL Warrior 123, which I'm assuming is as high as he can count. You are as real and fiercely intelligent as you are funny. Well, I mean, I know that, but a bit of positive confirmation, yeah. I'm not flattered. I mean, it just shows you're a perceptive guy, Steve. You know what's going down. You know the score. Yeah. It means you're unlikely to kill someone. You know. Unlike everyone else, Pat Contell's got at least one mass murderer on his subscribers list. You know, that would bother me. I've just got a load of Muslims. Once your gender corrective surgery business takes off, I don't know if that's going to help my comedy career by having a positive. Coughlin made me. I laughed so hard I decided to change sex. Because life was never going to get more interesting unless I radically, I mean, I don't know how I can sell that. Coughlin made me chop my penis off in hilarity. My balls fell off with joy. Coughlin, yeah. there's crack. There's crack, and then there's dick. What's your favourite variation of the term? None of them. Right, social justice warrior is now nothing more than a new it's a pseudonym for cultural Marxist PC brigade. The whatever you whatever you want to call it. It's the same stuff. The left wing, the leftist. PC media, the liberal media, any other term, it's the same. It's just social justice warrior. A group who I've never heard of until a few months ago, but apparently I should be terrified of, and who have this massive influence and power that I just happen to have not noticed until Davis Arini points it out, thus immediately rendering it a moot point. If I gave you a free dick, well, I've only got one, in all fairness, and I don't feel I could charge. A guild on an MMO, right? I'm going to assume that's some kind of computer game language that I've got no real understanding of. I've heard the term MMO, unless that's a martial arts thing. Now I'm rejoining on a different character so I can join them, learn more about them for no reason. Well, good for you. It's nice to have a hobby. It's lame, but I mean, it's keeping you off the streets. And let's face it, if you're going to abuse someone, do it on the internet, where the climate is such that it's less people are going to get less affected by it. Particularly gaming. I mean, gaming. One of my ex-girlfriends used to play Call of Duty online, and because I don't play video games, she decided for me to get involved, she gave me the headset so I could sit there and abuse the 12-year-olds who were online while she went around killing them. That was all. I had no idea what the game actually involved or how. I just sat there telling horrific jokes to these kids who were probably all Korean and yeah, PC is they all are. Cultural Marxism is frigging pointless. I mean, Marxism is an economic thing. To say cultural Marxism, it's just communism is what they really want to say. It's red baiting. It's McCarthyism. But if you say communist, you sound like a nutter, like Glenn Beck. It's too obvious. So you say cultural Marxist because it implies the same thing. Davis Arini is not a Bond villain. He's not even he's not even Dr. Evil. He's like a sort of discount porn version of him. He had a teeny weeny little greenie, Davis and J. Arini. You'd love to see me troll, dude. Apparently, that's all I do anyway. Have you not listened? Have you not seen a Thunderfoot video, or have you not listened to what? Have you not listened to what people who I critique and disagree with tell you to think about me? Apparently I am just one big troll. I'm bloody good apparently. I must be if they're willing to make video. Do you know if you'll be doing any stuff in the Midlands? None at the moment. I can think of. No. But I've got friends in Birmingham. I was there only a couple of months ago. But yeah, I mean, there's no reason why I shouldn't. Just got to find the right gig. Thing is, it's got to be worth doing. I mean, if I'm not getting, I've got to get at least 10 quid. 5. All the facts. All the facts. Secret Muslim, crypto Jew, fake atheist, Holocaust denier, histrionic personality disorder, schizophrenia, crackhead, smackhead, meth head, junkie, pedo, rapist, child porn enthusiast and producer and trafficker, Nazi, skinhead, racist, sexist, rapist, paedophile, homosexual, with AIDS, cancer, and every other terminal illness. And that's just my good points. Well, in all fairness, apparently he shut that one down, and he's got a drunken peasants one, which is at £5,000. Which, in all fairness, is still, I can still make fun of, because it's only 10 times bigger than mine, and I have less than 1% of his subscribers. So, The Amazing Atheist, I'd be making $500,000. That's, using maths, and we all know how much atheists love, science and maths and facts. But in all fairness, his subscribers, most of them have to ask their parents' permission in order to use the Visa card, or they have to somehow wait until they can steal it. So paper rounds don't pay that much these days. Well, no, in all fairness, I mean, saying that my followers aren't brainwashed shills, I mean, you don't know that, do you? I mean, that's part of being a brainwashed shill. You think you're the one who's right, and I am, but they do as well. I mean, they're not, but don't forget that, you could be wrong about everything, and making yourself look really stupid. You just don't know it. No, that's a bit unfair. I mean, they could just, in all fairness, I think TJ would do it, would happily give them $1 or $2. Someone I know is being, TJ actually donates to someone's Patreon who I know. I won't say who they are, but do you know how much he gives them? $1 a month. I'd rather nothing. I'd rather he shit in a box and sent it to me. Why, thank you, TJ. It's like that. It's like trading places. All the history and drama. All you have to know is I was right, and everyone else was full of shit. I made a mistake. In 2009, I had a breakdown on camera. And since then, there's nothing else. I've done nothing wrong since then. And as a result, that video is the only argument that is used against me when facts and nothing else can sort of help. It is DevShell. In all fairness, I'm sure DevShell's about as ashamed of that as anyone else would be. I don't mind $1 a month. I'm not saying $1 a month is bad. It's just it's $1 a month from him. It's like I don't think this is. I think that just proves what a tight arse you are. I mean, I don't donate to anyone else's Patreon because there's no one whose videos I'm invested in enough that I feel I feel I want to put that money into, and I can't afford it anyway. So. But if I was going to, it would be more than $1. It would be 2, maybe 3, 3p in real money. I am androgynous. I've done that. I've done that dozens of times. I've actually made responses to people who, when people have used it, I've actually made responses and taken the piss out of myself, and I've put funny music to it. I've sped it up and put Benny Hill music to it. I featured it on my channel. I share it with everyone. It doesn't matter. People will still use it because they've got nothing. And a sensible person would back away and say nothing and leave it. But that's the ego gets in the way. Well, I don't use sticking a banana up your ass as an argument, I just use that as a statement of fact, because it shouldn't bother him. I'm sure it doesn't. I'm sure he probably leaked it himself, but I feel like just using it because it's funny to me. I've never used it as an argument. I've just used it as a point of ridicule. Not because I think there's something, people do that, there's something wrong with them. I just think, if there's one place TJ should not be sticking fruits and vegetables, it's in his backside. That doesn't count as one of your 5 a day, as far as I'm aware. I'm not a nutritionist. I could be, but I haven't bothered to get a fake certificate. Yeah, but no, the problem is Gatrillin is this is a guy who uses anything and everything against people. I mean, he like I said, my last video was about the fact that he decided to make fun of me because I got a birthmark and I cried in 2009. Now, you can't do that. You have no right to sit. You want to sit there and do that, fine, but don't sit there and then take the piss and get pissed off and angry that people make fun of you for sticking a banana up your ass. You can't. It's a tad stupid. That's where you've got. That's where you've got a. That's where his problem is. He's this horrid, vile person who says deliberately the most horrid shit to people that he knows is offensive and upsetting, and is completely irrelevant. He's doing it to humiliate people, but then he cries when people make fun about him being fat and having a small penis. Well, small penis, having an alleged penis. You know what I mean? To be fair, Chris, Rith blocked me for no reason and with absolutely no explanation or justification about a couple of weeks ago. I noticed, and so fuck him. I don't really care. Yeah. Dude, you don't need to travel to London. Wait, there'll come a point when I'll be. If you're going to travel, I mean, wait until I'm doing a show that's of substantial length. Like at least I'm doing, maybe if I'm doing Edinburgh, or if I'm doing the Brighton Festival, or if I'm doing some, but don't travel to London just to watch me do 20 minutes. It's a complete waste of money. Particularly as you'll know all the material if you've seen it, if you've watched all my stand-up videos. So, and I'm not writing anything new. No. Yeah, that was that was just an example of that was just him. Again, that was him pretending to have some ethical, moral, objection to people who were upset, or who were making a big thing about it, or who were getting and it's like, what's your point, TJ? Yes, look, there are lots of other kids who killed themselves online, so we should therefore people shouldn't be bothered about it. And if these other kids who killed themselves because of online bullying were not talked about in the media, why are you surprised that people did not make such a big deal about it? Most people only know certain things like this happen because they read them, because they see it on the news. So to sit there and claim that people are immoral, are being morally ambiguous or inconsistent because they haven't behaved in a certain way when other things have happened, just because you looked up online other kids who were bullied online and killed themselves does not mean that people should not care about this one. It's not that. I mean, Riff can agree with people, but it's when you get if you argue the point, he doesn't. It doesn't take long before he gets frustrated and can't really be bothered. Which is fine. That's who he is. I can appreciate having that. Being like that. But so I just would avoid having arguments where I knew were going to result in a disagreement. Yes. Well, no, for TJ, the victim is always the person who needs correcting. For him, the victimizer is something that should be accepted, and we should accept the fact that bullies and victimizers and abusers are always, are just there, and there's nothing we can do. So it's up to the people who are, targeted by them that we need to focus on. And that to me is a pretty cunty attitude, and one that says everything about him. Well, don't get me wrong, I'm not against bullying if it's done, if it's done to the right person. Some people deserve to be bullied, for no other reason than it teaches. I mean, generally, it's not until everyone gangs up on the bully at school, everyone decides, all the kids who are bullied and picked on by the one massive big kid, it's not until they all get together and decide that he actually starts to learn a lesson. Why does anyone care when someone kills themselves? But, well, I mean, are you saying that people don't care about anything unless it personally affects them? Do you think maybe people who have kids online, kids that are active on social media, kids who are of a certain age that is, the same as Amanda Todd, might be concerned that they don't want their kids to end up like that? Do you think maybe it's an idea of, shit, I didn't realise this is what happens? Do you think maybe that's the case? That's, I'm just saying, not everyone who expresses a concern or or some kind of outrage or offence to something that they were not personally involved in is pretending. A lot of them just happen, to have they might have a personal reason for it, but it doesn't mean they're full of shit. Why do people care about terrorist attacks? It didn't happen near you. It was your house was 1,000 miles away. What do you care whether people are beheaded on the internet? You're not being beheaded, are you? It's like, sorry, it's just you're saying we should not. Anyone who expresses upset or distress about something that they're not involved in is necessarily being fake. And I'm not saying they're not. A lot of people do, but generally they get upset about stuff that's not worth getting upset about. It's irrelevant, trivial shit. That there's no that is manufactured. That's a fact. That does happen. Dix O'Clock News. There's a lot of Dix O'Clock News videos still online. They're just not on any of the channels I have. The reason I haven't uploaded them is because, well, it was a news show and it's about 4 or 5 years old, and so the Dix. But there is a channel, I forget which one it is. I think it's called Johnson McJohnson. It's got copies of them all. In all fairness, most of the people who pretend to be offended by a lot of stuff, most of the people I see online who pretend to get offended by stuff are the people who, at the same time, complain about people who get offended by stuff. I mean, Pat Condell's one of the most offended people I've ever seen. He's offended by everything. He's offended by stuff that doesn't even actually happen, that happens in his head, and yet he complains like a bitch when anyone's offended by him. And it's like, well, you can't have it both ways, can you? You can't complain about people who are offended by stuff and then sit there and get offended by stuff. Well, no, I mean, in all fairness, my podcast is, the podcast that I do, is kind of, that was me attempting to do something that basically was an extended version of the Dix O'Clock News, but was done with more, maybe they have again. You're assuming that people showing concern or what people on the internet might care about subjects like this because it could one day affect them or someone maybe they know, maybe they have relatives like that. And also it's the fact that it's something where this is what can happen. A 14-year-old. I agree. Again, you're suggesting that people need to be outraged about everything equally all the time, and that's just impossible. It's like that video I made to Martin J. Willett when he was going on about that an 8-year-old boy who was bullied by 3 Asian lads and killed himself, and he was acting as if no one gave a shit, and it was nobody in the news wanted to talk about it because the bullies were Asian, and I showed him that actually it was featured in most national newspapers and it was on most major mainstream news outlets. And then I brought up multiple examples of, and I showed him statistics of how often this kind of thing happens. And I asked him, why is it only now that he cares? And I don't expect him to care every time one is, but he thinks his argument was, why are you not concerned about this one kid who gets bullied? It's like, well, maybe we hadn't heard about it. It's you can't sit there and demand everybody get as equally offended or upset by something. I agree with you. It's tragic when someone who no longer wants to live, but what are we supposed to? What are we supposed to do about this? What am I supposed to? If someone's in that position, I can't help them. Unless they reach out to me, because that's not going to be something that's featured on the news unless they're a celebrity or or they were found in some amusing position with donkey porn around them. Well, I think the next one. I think I've got enough to do the next one. It probably won't be. It'll be sometime in the next week, probably. Probably, Thing is, I don't want to force them out. I want to be able to have enough material to, put something together. And I don't just want to trot out news stories at random. I want there to be an actual, I try to make them actually connect together and create a sort of narrative, without actually having to make something up. Which is annoying, because I'd be bloody good if I could make news up, but I'd love to do what? Where is the podcast? I thought Spreaker. Hold on. Well, if you've got iTunes, you can find it. It's on iTunes, Left Wing Propaganda Podcast, or you can follow. That's a link to the hosting site, but it's on Stitcher and it's also on iTunes. Well, no, debunking Martin J. Willett is easy, because when you actually listen to what he's saying, it's incredibly stupid, and it's totally and utterly without any basis in fact, and it comes from nowhere other than his own hatred and things he makes up on the spot or just asserts as true. It's not difficult to debunk him. Expecting him to actually be able to respond and to listen to you and to be honest, that's an exercise in futility, but that's why I don't bother trying to do it. Martin J. Willett does everything that a lot of every phobe does. I don't think there's a form of bigotry he hasn't covered. I've heard homophobia, anti-Semitism, racism, xenophobia, sexism, ableism. I've heard there is not a form of hatred or bigotry that I have not encountered coming out of the mouth of Martin J. Willett. Yeah. Well, Martin J. Willett claims that the media and the government doesn't in any way, influence who people are and what they think, which is stupid. No, it's the dumbest thing ever to sit there and say the media has no effect or influence on what people think. Well, it's like, well, why do we have it? Why do we? What is the point in the media? Why do we even have one if it's not going to affect me? The truth is, it doesn't affect him, and he's a bigot, and bigots think that everybody is the same. Bigots think everyone thinks the way they do, you know. So in his mind, he's just telling people what they already feel. Well, exactly, Chemo. I mean, it's just common sense, isn't it? It's like saying if I grew up, if as a baby I was given to Al Qaeda, I'm pretty sure I'd have grown up to be a little bit different. You know, I don't think I'd be enthusiastic about stand-up comedy or telling jokes about wanking or having a shit. It's just that just makes sense to me. You know, but we don't know this. Yeah, but natural, again, he doesn't define natural. To him, natural is just anything that you're not taught. If you're taught something, he acts as if that's brainwashing or some kind of, you know, it's therefore you fighting your urges, and apparently instinctive urges are what we should live by, which is kind of dangerous. Yeah, it's like saying, right, so you think a paedophile should just rape kids? Yeah, because, you know, that's what they do. You know, okay. You get the impression he's trying to defend his videos aren't about talking about issues. It's about him trying to defend himself, you know, and trying to you know, feel as if he can rationalize and justify what he believes, you know, because everything he believes is viewed in the modern day, in this modern era, as being unacceptable and backward and regressive, wrong, you know, harmful. That's what we think of Martin J. Willett, and so he has to try and stop himself from going mad by, you know, going on the internet and finding people who can tell him that he's right. Yeah. Which he's done. He's found a few hundred people. Good luck to him, I say. You know. Yeah, well, I mean, that's why I don't bother. I mean, you know, any response I do to Willett, beyond my first few, is purely just for my own amusement and the amusement of anyone else who shares my opinions on him. That's it. I expect to achieve nothing productive beyond giving people a giggle, you know, and that to me is that's enough, you know. That can be, and a giggle is a good thing. If it comes at the expense of him, more the better. And I can do it confident that no matter what I say, as long as I put actual arguments in between the piss-taking jokes, I know he will never respond, and he can't, and that drives him mad, you know, because he hates me. and why shouldn't he? I'd hate me if I was him. Yeah. I get the impression if Martin had any friends, they were paid to be his friends by his parents. Well, they were actors employed, you know. I've never heard of Prussian Blue. You know, sounds very white though. Johnny Rebel is hilarious, you know. I have to admit that I'm not proud of it, but I do laugh my ass off listening to Johnny Rebel. You know, just I cannot believe that it's real. I find it astounding that it is actually not satire, or it's not a parody. That makes me laugh. Yes, but research is difficult, Abyss. That requires effort. You have to read stuff, you know, and it involves you having to be willing to maybe accept that you're wrong about something. And it's easier just to go with your instincts, or to go with your, you know, to give in to your feelings. Feelings are easy, you know, and you don't have to justify feelings because they just are. And you don't have to think about them because they just happen. So therefore you can get through life without having to make an effort. You know? Well, no, I mean, if Martin J. Willett is if Martin J. Willett contacted me saying he you know he hated himself, then I would talk to him. But until then, fuck him. You know, I will. I'll just sit here and drive him mad. And so that, and every once in a while, I will make a YouTube video reminding him of the fact that he's wrong. You know, and that and that everything he thinks is, he wants reality to be, is gone. No, actually, Chemo, I think it's probably, Chemo, if you look back historically, the Royal Rumble, having the Royal Rumble winner put their spot on the line has actually happened quite a lot. I think the problem is that they didn't let it come about in a way that appeared. They didn't let it sort of organically progress. They just came out the following at the first Raw and announced that they were going to do that. They did it after Austin won in '97. They did it when they've done it when there's been draws and two people have won. I think Shawn Michaels did it with Owen Hart. There's been quite a few. The Elimination Chamber's always had matches like that, so it's actually quite common. I just think they dealt with it. They let it. They didn't come up with a good enough reason or excuse or program. They could have let it happen. They could have let it happen the week before. Giving us, just make it the week before, and then we're like, wow, that's come out of nowhere. Neo-Nazis have bad family situations. I know. It's like, what are they? Black people? Yeah, but you got to remember, this is the problem with these whole situations is these poor girls will grow up to be the adults, and these adults were probably just as exploited and and taken advantage of and brainwashed and fucked up as it's a whole line of tragedy. It's just that we get to a point where we believe someone's old enough to know better, but when you think about it, there's no reason why they should. In fact, the older they get, the more difficult it is. Younger people are easier to convince because they've got their whole life ahead of them. Therefore, they've got time to set everything straight. If you're 50, 60 years old, what's the point in starting your life over again? Just keep lying to yourself. It's easier. There is always hope. Let's not forget. Look at those two girls from the Phelps family. They broke free. They probably finally got it. So it does happen. There's lots of former Islamic extremists who are either now deconverted or are now moderate Muslims who are engaged in who write books or are engaged in organisations geared towards helping people. So it is there. It's not impossible. It's just it's not dramatic storytelling for the tabloids. It's not it doesn't make people angry and scared. Nah, fierce. It will be Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, because there's no point in keeping Daniel Bryan in that match, because it just makes Roman Reigns' life more difficult. Have Daniel Bryan fight someone for a title shot. What about that? That would be Seth Rollins, Ziggler, and Bryan. Winner gets a title shot. It could do, but in all fairness, that's their problem. That's not my problem. That's them to worry about. In all fairness, Roman Reigns is better than Goldberg, which is not difficult. Goldberg, John Cena is Dean Malenko next to Goldberg. And in all fairness, Lesnar was at the time he didn't want to have a match in any way because he was going to the NFL. Now he doesn't need to worry about that. He might go to UFC, but in all fairness, he doesn't have to. He was younger back then, so I think he would actually do a match personally. Taqiyya, you spelled it wrong. Taqiyya, one of the 5 tenets of the Islamophobic. There are 5 pillars of Islamophobia. One of them is that 5 cowpats of the 5 cowpat pillars of Islamophobia. Yeah, but in all fairness, you know, he's an example of someone who was probably better off being religious, you know, because, you know, some people probably just are, you know, I know people want to believe that religion makes everyone worse, but that's not true. You know, it's like not everyone who takes drugs becomes a horrid addict and a criminal. You know, not everyone who does one thing or another is going to be the worst example. Some people just are, you know. Vindicator. Do you honestly want to know what happened? 5-ish years ago, he was in a blog TV and he was pissing me off because he was being really stupid and not answering questions that I'd asked him. And I got annoyed with him and blocked him on blog TV. I kicked him out of the room, and that was it. And ever since then, since that was it. You know. That's all I did. I banned him from blog TV, and it's been 5 years. Of course he's watching, he's recording all this, putting it on his database. He has got petabytes of fucking, he's got a fucking external hard drive the size of a Hummer with all of the amount of stuff on there. Problem with that is, well, the problem, I think triple threat is not something you should force, particularly one like that, which is an obvious triple threat. But, you know, also you'd have to have Dean Ambrose involved somehow, and that's probably going to be, you know, you've got Dean Ambrose, put him with someone else. He doesn't need to be in the title picture. He's popular enough. People don't need him, and no one's going to believe he would win anyway. So it's kind of a waste to have him in there. You know, if at the very least triple threat, you should be able to believe each person could win. No, he's not an EDLer. Well, I mean, he will, saying that, he'll take any position and defend anything that is the opposite of what I say. So he could be, but it doesn't matter. You know? I don't know. I don't care. He's probably too stupid to be an EDL member. It's the job about me being a compere. It's just there's a venue in London that wants a comedy night, and I happened to be the first person who, you know, was asked or told about it. So I went and met them, and it's only going to be a monthly thing, but you know, it's a noticeable, it's an amount of money that could be you wouldn't sniff at. He has videos that probably I don't remember doing, like even videos that I didn't even know that existed. You know, like rock stars who can't remember years of their life because they were like, there's videos me again. I did that. I made that video. No. Which I wouldn't mind. You know, there's so many videos from the first 18 months that I lost from my 666 channel. You know, there's so many videos that I wish I had, or copies of videos I had. You know. But you know, that's just life. If I could remember them, I'd have happily remade them. Sadly, that's not possible. I wish I had my first Ponage video, which I made in fucking June, August 2008. That would be, that was, I mean, it's dreadful. In terms of the production quality, even by my standards, this is awful. But it's just, it was my first, you know. I actually agree with you, Chemo, but it only works if after Reigns wins, you know, the celebration goes on so long that you would not believe, like 10 minutes I want streamers going off, fireworks. I don't care if people are leaving. Right? You might have 10,000 people who've left. Seth Rollins comes out at the last possible minute. You know, that would be hilarious. Nosgoth, I don't even know what that is. Dude, Minecraft is the only computer game I've played since 2004, and I've only been playing that, you know, a couple of times a week for a few months. So the porridge one, no, God, the porridge one was, that was, you know, way, the porridge one was early, but that was like 2000, that was late 2008, maybe even early 2009. The first one I ever did was a response to a guy called Anti-Homofag, who was a Russian Orthodox Christian and complete closet case. And I don't know what the title was called, but all I remember is I only watched 42 seconds of his 8-minute video, and it took me 17 minutes to respond to it, and then I gave up. Actually, you know what would be funnier is if Daniel Bryan fights Seth Rollins in a match for the Money in the Bank case, and then Daniel Bryan cashes in on Reigns just after he's won it. That would be hilarious. That would be funny. After Reigns has turned heel and Heyman has betrayed Lesnar, then, right, so you've got immediately a double heel team. So you've got a heel turn and just loads of shit. Fred Figglehorn video, my Fred Figglehorn parody was, I still think it's one of, if not the best video I ever did, but depends on what sort of video you're talking about, because I've done, you know, different types, you know, there are certain videos that are nothing like that, but they're just as good in and of themselves. I don't watch New Japan. Dude, WWE does about 50 hours of fucking programming a week, and you know, I don't have enough time to watch enough you know, I wish I did, but I don't, you know. I remember that one. That was the Black Atheists. That was the Black Atheists of Atlanta video, I think. Yeah, I like that one. The re-upload of that. The guys who are actually, one of the guys who's actually on the show still comments on that video. He's still to this day, even though it's the re-upload, he still bangs on about it. I'm like, dude, go home. You know, they even contacted me saying, do I want to be on the show? I'm like, no. First of all, you're in Atlanta. Secondly, I'm not going to sit there and basically tell you what I've already said. You know, my video is there. Stop doing the debate us live or we win tactic, which is really, really which really annoys me how many people are so stupid that they go along with, you know, the video's there, it's laid out, it's clear, respond to it, you know. Fuck your live debate. I'm not going to sit there with you and your mates. Charlie Chicken. No, he's not on that show. The Black Atheist Atlanta. There's like 3 or 4 guys involved. I can't remember his name, but it's not Charlie Chicken. Yeah, he's a funny motherfucker. He's so sad. If you want, yeah. Dude, if you're going to pay me $15 a month, Then I do have one rule, however, with the rewards, and that is that at least 1 month has to go by before I do it, because I got burned once by someone who got the $15 Skype call thing, and then their pledge didn't go through, and then they cancelled. So from that moment on, I said, right, a month has to pass before, or at least the first month's pledge has to go through before it happens. Because I'm not gonna. It's not a big effort, but I'm not gonna sit there and waste my time and have someone get me to call them up and then give me absolutely nothing. As long as they get it, I think I mean, I'm not like TJ, who's just going to claim, who will say he'll do stuff and then do none of it. Well, I mean, you can do 30 if you want. I mean, you can do 30 if you want, and still just have the Skype call. You're not obliged to. You're not obliged to specifically. You can do that if you want. Dude, if they're videos I'm actually in, and then that's how you know. If you hear a voice of Thunderfoot, or my video is interspliced with The Amazing Atheist, or Gorilla 199, or Vindicator, or Mad Shaggy, or Raoul, or God, a lot of people hate me, or someone like that, then it's not mine. Move in with me. If you pay me a living wage, if it's rent free and you pay me enough so I can. If I was allowed to live there free, right? No bills. I just had enough money to get some cigarettes. Have fun. How about minimum wage, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week? Dude, don't feel you need. Dude, don't worry about it. I'm still going to make videos regardless. Don't feel guilty about it. I'm not going to sit here and try and. I've had I had one lad who tried to give me $50 a month, and for 3 months, 4 months, none of them went through, and I had to contact him and say, look, mate, please either reduce your pledge or just cancel it, because it's silly that you should suffer bank charges because you're trying to give me money you don't have. I don't want people to go out of their way. There are much more worthwhile causes to donate to than me. But if you've got a bit of disposable, and you feel I'm only going to waste it on something then fair enough. I don't want people to fucking put themselves out or stretch themselves. Yeah, see, that wouldn't appeal to me. I find weed boring, and it's just totally uninteresting. It's the least interesting of. At least with alcohol, you do things that you don't remember until years later when people tell you about them. There's some excitement there. Well, there you go. Then. That's fine. I mean, like I said, the only thing my Patreon promises is that if I reach my target amount, then I can produce a much more content. But I'm not going to spend. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm going to buy a better camera, a better computer. No, I don't need. It's a waste of time, because I'm not going to do that. I don't need to. There's no point in me having a better camera. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. See, hookers is fine. You know, as long as they're not child, animal, or male, and at age 25, or or younger. You got to remember, weed is a thing that's when it was cool. When weed was at its peak in the 60s as being cool and rebellious, our grandparents were of an age to have done it. That's kind of anything your grandparents could have done that was cool. That's like listening to George Formby. It's ridiculous. No, well, that's fair enough, 0 point. I've tried making that argument before with meth, but no one bought it. I'm trying desperately to find a medical reason for it, but it doesn't exist. Please don't put me in any box as someone who, I call myself this, therefore I must be that. Overall, I'm for people, I'm for adults making decisions that, and living their lives in a way. And if they're happy, and if no one gets hurt, and if it's, if it's what they want, or even if it's what they're okay with, then that's their business. None of mine. Yeah, but I mean, in all fairness, it's not weight loss. It's not weight loss through a diet suppressant. It's weight loss through having your calcium and your bones and teeth fall out. It's also not very. It's very. In terms of your sleep, in terms of your sanity, it's not very helpful. You might as well have a gastric bypass if that's your reason. You could probably save up. Then you'll be thin forever. Meth will only keep you thin as long as you can afford it. Yeah. I don't know how that works though. I couldn't focus on anything I wanted to focus on when I was using it. Well, I mean, no, it works. I mean, people used to. I think you'll find ecstasy and amphetamines were used as quite commonly as suppressants for appetite. Ecstasy at one point was, they tried using it as an appetite suppressant and marketing it, but it gave you brain damage, lung damage, and liver failure. So instead, we just took it for a good time. Because that's how stupid we are as a species, How can Texas be the meth capital and one of the most obese places on earth? I didn't like acid. Shrooms. I had shrooms in tea once, and that was quite fun. That was enjoyable, but I was not. Acid really wasn't. Oh yeah, trust me. If you got a load of tweaking methods and put them on like The Apprentice or one of those invention shows, Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, people would come up with some of the most brilliant things that there is nothing more motivated than a junkie who's trying to do anything to get himself set straight. There's no naturally motivated person in the world. Oh yes, it's if you haven't shit yourself in Tesco's in the middle of a nervous breakdown, you haven't been high. Yeah. You're an amateur until you have publicly degraded yourself. Yeah, shrooms just made me laugh at everything. I mean, literally everything. I could have watched anything You could have shown me anything and I would have laughed. I could have watched child porn, my family being murdered. I would have laughed. Because see, I don't know what a quarter of base means in. I don't know what that would work out over here, because that's, yeah, I mean, gotta be, well, they can fuck your brain up if you, well, they can only really fuck your brain up if you're unprepared or you're not aware of what you're about to do. Otherwise they'll just scare you or make you feel uncomfortable, or getting kicked out of Walmart. Isn't that a good thing though? I mean, isn't that just, I don't see how that's a bad thing. Yeah, but when you're bombed, anything is enjoyable. Let's be honest. It's, people sit there and go, "Oh, you should, when you're stoned, you should. Oh, you know what you should do? You should play Buckaroo." It's like anything is. They miss the point that when you're on anything to a significant degree, anything is enjoyable. Whatever you're doing, 6.5 grams. Oh, that's kiddie. That's the kiddie table. 6. I take that to go to sleep. Yeah, but again, everything's hilarious on, anything. I mean, you could stare at a wall. You could watch nothing. You could close your eyes. You could watch Dane cook and laugh. I don't want to try, but God, you must have made better stuff than me. God, I could never make making 6.5 G last 5 days. That was impossible. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that's, the more you enjoy yourself, the indulgence has a price. You have to pay a price for it. That's just reality. But if you came out the other end okay, at least you're actually, you can actually, you can learn from that. It's something, if you can get through that, if you can get through the downsides of overindulgence, then you can get through pretty much anything, because there's nothing really worse. But yeah, well, I mean, everyone has a different recovery period. Some people, never fully recover. They're always. I mean, once you're an addict, you're an addict. That's it. You always will be. You might not do anything for 10 years, 15, 20, whatever, but you're always gonna be one. It's about controlling it. And being aware of the fact that any minute now you could end up right back there. And it's not easy. It's yeah, but look at it this way: you've hit rock bottom, and now you're okay. You know, I feel sorry for the people who are young and who haven't hit rock bottom yet. You know, because they've got to. You know, they don't know. They think that. You know, people always go, "Oh, I'm so depressed. I'm so upset. I'm so. Oh God, my life's so shit." Over pointless, trivial shit. Whereas once you go down there, you're like, right, that's where life really is. Fucking, you know, that's the end. You know, you can't go further. So either get up and carry on. I don't know that one of us. It's not even that they're good. I mean, it's that they go from something you want to do to being something you have to do, then something you need to do, to literally just to function. You know, that it's not even a case of enjoyment. You cannot get through a day doing everyday shit without something there, and that's the point where you've gone too far. And at that point, it's either right, you're either going to die, or the doctor's going to tell you to stop, or you can make the decision now. Yeah, and it's always best when you make the decision. You don't want the doctor telling you have to. That's the worst. You're a strange man, TAS. But then I expect and demand nothing less from one of my subscribers. I envision a future where I sleep on the streets. Well, in all fairness, that's a very achievable ambition. I wish I could set my sights to something more realistic. Shut up, Matt. Oh no, alright. Aura, I was hearing Boney M play backwards. Was it any good? It's better than hearing him play forwards, in all fairness. When you say bat children, do you mean children who look like bats, or actual the small baby bats? Yeah, or bats that were bat-sized but looked like children with bat wings. You know, you haven't set the scene at all, my friend. You need it. Your storytelling skills are dreadful. You've left me with too much to have to think of myself. Was it bat-sized children, children-sized bats? Was it children as in 2-year-olds, 10-year-olds? You know, what's going on? Hello, Liam. Liam, you've actually contributed. I don't even know if Matt is. No, he's not. No, Matt's lost his internet, you know, hours ago. Thank God. Early on in the show. Then Kalen's disappeared, probably passed out, and you've actually contributed more to this than Matt with those 2 comments. I never actually saw WrestleMania 6, and to be honest with you, it wasn't till later on. It wasn't till much later on that I bothered watching it. And Hogan Warrior is one of those matches that's, at the time, it was probably exciting, but it's not. It's quite boring. You know, I'm sure back then, if you were watching it, it was exciting, but it was pretty fucking pedestrian, to be honest. Well, do you know what we need to do about the homeless spikes on the street? You know, free. You know, we need mattresses attached with backpacks to homeless people. We need to give them out. You know, just set up a charity that makes mattresses that you can wear as a backpack. Done. Rage Matt is, and a very, very, isn't, Rage Matt doesn't bother me. You know, Matt doesn't rage at me. Matt is a marshmallow. He's all bluster. He's all talk and no trousers. Kalen's is a good bloke. You know, you don't like him. You know, there's nothing unlikable about him. You don't have to enjoy or find him entertaining. But you know, Kalen, but there's no reason to dislike him. Yeah. They are actually the same person, but Matt is so schizophrenic and, you know, so completely utterly messed up that Kalen's actually became another person. You know, he didn't want to live in Matt's imagination. Yeah, well, I mean, the Ultimate Warrior was all entrance, wasn't it? I mean, there was he was, you know, all, yeah, that's fine, but that's all he was. Beyond that, he was pretty boring. He was entrance promo, nothing else. I don't think you could hear him. There'd be dogs everywhere wondering who's talking to them. Leave Kalen's alone. Kalen's is the black face of Foley. Yes, there's the actual, you know, matches which make up the 90% of the actual content. Yeah, there's also, you know, child killing, you know, prostitution, drug abuse, you know, wife beating, sexual assault, and the inevitable, you know, descendants into depression, pornography, you know, all that stuff. It's sadly very rare that a wrestler ends up very normal. You know, most of them go mad or die or get to a point where you wish they had died. You know, because it's too depressing. Weird, isn't it, that a voodoo witch doctor went on to become a pimp and transitioned from the transitional period of being a militant black Nation of Islam member. I'm going to go, guys. Got stuff to do. I've got to be up early to go to Manchester, which is never, you know, no one should have to say, you know, but I'm going to do it. So it's been a pleasure. Half of what we did wasn't wrestling, but who cares? I mean, it made sense when you were 10. No, it didn't. That's a lie, and you know it. It was just justifiable as an interest when you were 10. When you get to our age, it's very difficult and it's embarrassing. Well, if you've got a sense of shame, which I don't. So, well.